Chapter 2836. Miss, we can only be friends with Longao. Why? Emperor Yun was a wily old fox. Just by looking at Yunshi's expression, he could guess her intentions. She wanted to take Longao's chaos artifact and find a chance to steal the legacy she'd been searching for countless years. I've already told you about Longao's situation. It wasn't easy for me to form an alliance with him. He waved his hand. Before Emperor Yun could continue, Yunshi suddenly smiled and said, "Don't worry, uncle. Qian, don't worry. My family and I won't fall to such a state." Seeing that Yunshi didn't seem to be lying, the two heaved a sigh of relief. Whether Longao's chaos artifact comes from the legacy or not, he can still join us. But we won't let him touch the legacy. Tell him for me. Understood. Emperor Yun didn't tell Yunshi about Longao's true intentions. Because even if Yun Qian's talent was extraordinary, it wasn't up to them to decide if she wanted the legacy. If the family made the decision, the legacy would undoubtedly be given to the family's only high god. Miss, what should we do next? Find the map. 4 simple words, but Emperor Yun and the others were extremely depressed. Finding the incomplete map was easier said than done. They'd searched for countless years and still hadn't found it. One word, difficult. Longao didn't stay with the others. Instead, he stayed outside the cave. If only the Chaos Palace could be separated from my body. He felt helpless. Even though he had gained some control over the Primal Chaos Hall, he was still unable to completely separate it from his elixir field. If that was the case, once the Yi and Ling families made their moves, it was unknown whether the cave-dwelling seal would be able to withstand them. What should he do? Longao would rather take the risk himself than the family. He had to refine the Chaos Tablet as soon as possible. But the remaining half would take at least tens of thousands of years. If he'd known this would happen, he would have stayed in the immortal world until he'd completely refined the Chaos Tablet. Longao had never imagined that there would be such a huge time difference between the immortal world and the vast cosmos he was in. If he hadn't experienced it himself, it would have been hard to believe. It was too late for regrets. The 6 demigods of the Yi clan and the Ling clan had all descended. Who knew if the 6 of them would point their spears at him? Caution is the parent of safety. Longao, can I talk to you? I'm very willing. Longao was not surprised by Yunshi's sudden arrival because he had already guessed that Yunshi would definitely come looking for him. If he was right, Yunshi should already know that he possessed 2 chaotic divine artifacts. Chaos divine artifacts were also divided into different grades. I've heard about you. Do you want to hear about the Chaos Realm? Please. Although Cloud Emperor knew about the Chaos Realm, he had been away for so many years. There are a total of 99 heavens in the Chaos Realm. I believe Emperor Yun has already told you. Yes. Yunshi smiled and continued, let me tell you about other things in the chaotic realm, such as alchemists, array masters, refiners, and talisman masters. The status of these people is far higher than ordinary warriors. Do you know why? Very rare. Longao had a general understanding of this matter. Alchemists were especially important in the immortal world's starry skies, but they were not worth much in his vast starry skies. As for the Chaos Realm, the alchemists, array masters, and talisman masters that Yunshi had mentioned were very popular. At the end of the day, it was because they were rare. You're very right. Perhaps in the starry skies, these so-called alchemists and array masters can easily reach a certain level, but in the Chaos Realm, there are far too few of them. Take the refiners, for example. Yunshi sighed. She lived in the Chaos Realm and naturally knew how rare array masters, refiners, and alchemists were. Even in Cosmos City, there were only a few of them. Array masters, refiners, talisman masters, and alchemists can be divided into beginner, intermediate, advanced, heaven, king, emperor, sovereign, and emperor levels. Longao did not speak. If it had been before, he indeed did not want to become an alchemist, array master, or talisman master. But it was different now. First of all, his 9-revolution chaos formula had been completely perfected. It had a very complete set of alchemy, array, talisman, and refiner techniques. Moreover, it was unique. After the 9 revolution, his achievements would certainly not be low. With such a foundation, how could he give up this opportunity? Secondly, even if he could master the chaos energy and become a lower god, his strength would only be at the lowest level when he entered the chaos realm. If he wanted to gain a foothold as soon as possible, alchemy, refining weapons, and array masters were still very important. I already know about your relationship with Qian. As for your chaos divine weapon, whether or not it is related to the inheritance, I will not snatch it. But I hope that you can help our Yun family. How about it? No problem. Without even thinking, Longao had already agreed. Before this, he had already promised Emperor Yun. However, Longao had already decided that if he could really find the inheritance, he would give it to Qian no matter the price. Longao, with all due respect, with your strength, even if you are talented, it will be very difficult for you to gain a foothold in the chaos realm in a short time. In this case, the family will not allow you to be together with Qian. So, let me give you a piece of advice. Why don't you take the unconventional path? Other than cultivation, try to come into contact with other alchemy, array masters, and weapon refiners. Do you understand what I mean? If he still did not understand, Longao would really be a fool. He smiled and said, "Thank you for your reminder. I know what to do." Longao had a good impression of Yun Shi. If it was someone else who heard that he had 2 heaven-defying chaotic divine tools, it was obvious what they would do. Regardless of whether it was the primal chaos axe or the primal chaos palace, the temptation was too great. Miss Yun Shi. You can call me Sister Yun. Yun Shi actually looked down on Longao in her heart. However, since he was already together with Qian, she loved the house and its crow. After all, Yun Shi was very good to Qian and liked her very much. Sister Yun, I would like to ask. Since you already know that the map is incomplete, why are you still persisting? In the endless vast starry sky, no one knows where the lost map is. There is no point in continuing to search like this. How could Yun Shi not know what Longao meant? However, they did not dare to go against the family's decision. Chapter 28-37. Clan. Just 2 words. Yun Shi didn't say much. However, Longao already knew what Yun Shi meant. Even if there was no legacy in the universe, for the sake of the clan, they were willing to sacrifice themselves. He didn't say much. He was only responsible for helping the Yun clan. As for whether or not he was able to find them, that had nothing to do with him. There was still no news of Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu. For some reason, the 2 of them had suddenly disappeared without any warning. As for the others, they seemed to have learned about the Yi and Ling clans. They all went into closed-door training, hoping to be able to control primal chaos energy as soon as possible. Whether it was the Yi or Ling clans, the 6 people they sent out were all demigods. Any random demigod would be able to easily annihilate them. The universe wasn't the primal chaos realm. Demigods were invincible in the universe, but in the primal chaos realm, they were only slightly more powerful than ordinary people. During this period, Longao asked a few questions regarding the primal chaos realm, as well as the primal chaos steles. According to Emperor Yun, the primal chaos realm had countless primal chaos steles, and they all had different attributes. For example, there were lightning attribute primal chaos steles, 5 elemental chaos steles, wind attribute primal chaos steles, darkness attribute primal chaos steles, slaughter attribute primal chaos steles, etc. There were all sorts of primal chaos steles. All sorts of strange things. As for where these primal chaos steles came from, no one knew. If one was lucky enough to find their own primal chaos steles, then they would be able to devour them. Amongst them, primal chaos steles that were compatible with one's attribute were the best, as they would be able to go further. If they weren't compatible, then it would obviously affect their ability to advance. Primal chaos steles were indeed divided into different grades. They were ranked in order: elementary chaos steles, middle chaos steles, high chaos steles, heaven grade chaos steles, king grade chaos steles, emperor grade chaos steles, paragon grade chaos steles, and emperor grade chaos steles. However, The primal chaos steles that everyone had at the beginning were roughly the same. It could be said like this. If you devoured a middle chaos stele, then by the time you reached the god level from the middle chaos stele, you would still have to rely on yourself to continue training. As your cultivation level continued to rise, the primal chaos steles in your body would continue to rise as well. To complement each other. To help each other. If you improve, I will improve. It was a simple logic. Once a person devoured a primal chaos tablet, no matter what grade it was, they could not continue to devour other primal chaos tablets unless they died. As for the primal chaos stone tablets and increasing one's cultivation, there wasn't much of a relationship. The primal chaos stone tablets bestowed upon martial artists all sorts of elemental powers. For example, you've devoured the lightning primal chaos stone tablet, and with the lightning attribute, you can cultivate lightning martial skills, and you'll be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. But if you devoured the lightning primal chaos stone tablet and wanted to cultivate martial skills of other attributes, then sorry, not only would you not be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort, you might even regress. In the end, the primal chaos stone tablets aren't that useful. He was helpless to the extreme. He did not continue to dwell on this issue. This was because Longao had obtained another secret, and that was alchemy. There were several types of pills that could help martial artists refine the primal chaos stone tablets even faster. Ever since he perfected the 9 revolution primal chaos mantra, Longao had been in the immortal world space. Other than refining the non-elemental primal chaos tablets, he had also been researching formations, alchemy, chi training, and talisman techniques. This was because he was very clear in his heart that maybe in a few tens of thousands of years, he would be able to step into the primal chaos world. At that time, if he wanted to gain a foothold, the fastest way would be to become a pill master, weapon master, talisman master, or weapon master. A shortcut. For a few tens of thousands of years, Longao had been researching alchemy, weapon refining, formations and talisman techniques of the immortal world space. After 10,000 years, he had reached the peak, and all that was left was to increase the grade of the primal chaos world. However, the space was not the same as the primal chaos world. To become a level 1 pill master, array master, talisman master, or weapon master, the difficulty was countless times harder than in the primal chaos world. However, this was not a problem for Longao. Longao's 9 revolution primal chaos mantra, ever since it was perfected, there were all sorts of classifications. Amongst them were alchemy techniques, weapon refining techniques, talisman techniques, and formation techniques. However, just having the mantra alone was not enough. He needed all sorts of alchemy recipes, talisman recipes, etc. He also needed all sorts of spiritual herbs to help Longao level up. It was a little too difficult. This is really heaven-defying. I heard Emperor Yoon said that this pill that Yoon she brought would only take a few days to help me refine the primal chaos stone tablet. I wonder if that's true. Such a pill was unheard of. Longao wanted to try refining it as well. However, he did not have the alchemy recipe nor the spiritual herbs. Just the alchemy technique alone was a little helpless. He did not continue thinking about it. Everything would wait until he entered the primal chaos world. At that time, as long as he could find the alchemy recipe and the spiritual herbs, he would be able to continuously refine pills and become a level 1 pill master. 3 days later, feeling the changes in his body, Longao was pleasantly surprised. It was as Emperor Yoon had said. A small pill was able to help him refine the remaining half of the primal chaos stone tablet. If not for the help of the pill, he would need at least tens of thousands of years to refine the remaining half of the primal chaos stone tablet. For the current situation, this pill was just too important. Other people's primal chaos stone tablets that they devour all have their own attributes. They might be able to find the appropriate martial techniques. But I can't. The primal chaos stone tablet that I devour has no attributes. Seems like it's even more heaven-defying than the other primal chaos stone tablets. I can adapt to any martial technique. Longao smiled. He had already relied on the pill to refine the primal chaos stone tablet. However, to control the primal chaos stone tablet, pills alone were not enough. This was the most crucial step to becoming a lower god. Even in the primal chaos world, there were countless people who were stuck at this step, unable to control the primal chaos stone tablet and become a lower god. This step could only be described as difficult. Emperor Yoon, is there anything you need from me? Seems like you've already refined the primal chaos stone tablet. I should tell you the rest. What is it? The reason why I did not tell you about the primal chaos stone tablet earlier was because I did not want to burden you too much. Now that you've refined it, I have a way to let you control the power within it in the shortest time possible. Hearing Emperor Yoon's words, Longao was taken aback. He never would have thought that Emperor Yoon would have such a method. It seemed that in the vast universe where he was, including the other galaxies, becoming a lower god was many times more difficult than it was in the primal chaos world. In the end, it was because no one told the people of the universe what to do. Please speak. The two of them found a place to sit down. Chapter 2838. Now that all the primal chaos channels have been opened, all you need to do is head to the origin of primal chaos and try to use the primal chaos stele to communicate with it. So that's how it was. Longao already knew what Emperor Yoon meant. Before, the 9 primal chaos channels had all been sealed, so no one had been able to enter, not even Master God Diviner. But now, things were different. All the channels had been opened. Even if he couldn't enter, he could still pick up some primal chaos energy. Using the primal chaos energy to sense the primal chaos energy within the primal chaos stele, he could then control it. This was the most direct method. Based on your talent, you'll need at most 3 years to succeed. 3 years. Should he be pleasantly surprised? Or helpless? It was hard to say. Because if he really did manage to control the primal chaos energy within the primal chaos stele within 3 years, then he would have to leave and head to the primal chaos world. What would happen to his family then? He couldn't bear to do so, and he couldn't be at ease. But Longao knew that he had to go to the primal chaos world. Not just him, but every cultivator in the universe had the same goal, to go to the primal chaos world and search for a higher level of martial arts. He seemed to be able to guess what Longao was thinking. Emperor Yoon didn't say much. Longao, even if you can control the primal chaos stele within the primal chaos stele, you aren't a true demigod. You're only half a demigod. Without waiting for Longao to speak, Emperor Yoon continued, only after you enter the primal chaos world and use the primal chaos stele to draw in the energy of heaven and earth and temper your body will you be considered a true demigod. I understand. In other words, no matter which universe it was impossible for a true demigod to be born. At most, one would be half a demigod. There was nothing he could do. Right now, the Ling and Yi families have already begun to move. I can almost guarantee that they will definitely act against you. So you have to follow us, especially the young miss. I'm not afraid. Indeed, Longao wasn't afraid. He had the Primal Chaos Palace, a heaven-defying spatial chaos artifact. So what if they were lower gods? He didn't believe that the 6 of them could break through his spatial chaos artifact. Longao, I know what you are thinking in your heart. However, you must not be careless. Even if the 6 of them know about this, they will only be greedy at most. It is not certain if they will act against you. Once they act against you, you must take out the spatial chaos stone tablet and let them see it. Even if they cannot do anything to you, as long as they spread the news to the primal chaos realm, by the time you enter the primal chaos realm, you will be in endless trouble. Sigh. He felt helpless. Longao already knew what Cloud Emperor meant. Indeed, if the people of the primal chaos world knew about the primal chaos palace, he would have endless troubles in the future. Demigods might not be able to break through his primal chaos palace. Gods or high gods might not be able to break through his primordial chaos palace. But what about main gods, godly kings, or even godly emperors? Longao did not have the slightest bit of confidence. I know what to do. After this matter is settled, you must make arrangements for your family as soon as possible. Remember, as long as you head to the primal chaos realm and establish a firm foothold, your family will go to the primal chaos realm in the future. At this point, Cloud Emperor did not continue. However, The meaning behind his words was clear. Cloud Emperor left. Longao began to ponder. No matter what, the primal chaos realm was definitely more complicated and troublesome than he had imagined. Just as Cloud Emperor said, he had to head to the primal chaos realm as soon as possible to establish a firm foothold for his family. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done it. When his family went to the primal chaos realm in the future, not to mention the danger, there would not even be a place for them to stay. His fists were clenched tightly. Wait for me in the primal chaos realm. Yi family and Ling family did not bother about Longao for the time being because they had already found Longmire and the others. They also knew that Longao had 2 primal chaos divine weapons. Although they were shocked, they did not take it to heart. Even if primal chaos divine weapons were strong, how strong could they be? The 6 of them had already decided that after settling the matter of the inheritance, they would snatch Longao's primal chaos divine weapons. This also gave Longao a chance to catch his breath. Primal Chaos Spring. Longao had been in the Primal Chaos Spring for 10 days. Finally, at the last moment, he had absorbed a trace of Primal Chaos Force. The next thing to do was to guide the Primal Chaos Force from the Primal Chaos Stone into his Dantian as soon as possible. Guiding the Primal Chaos Force from the Primal Chaos Stone into his Dantian was not an easy task. It would take at least 3 years, unless there was a fortuitous encounter. Back in the immortal world, Longao had already studied alchemy, weapon refining, formation and talisman techniques to the peak. However, he still could not break through the first level of the primal chaos realm. He already had alchemy techniques, talisman techniques, weapon refining techniques and formation techniques. Next, he would need various alchemy and talisman recipes. Without these, he would not be able to become a first-level alchemist, first-level weapon refiner, first-level talisman master and first-level formation master. These were the foundations for him to enter the primal chaos realm. He was very anxious. Longao thought about it and finally went to Yun Shi. He went straight to the point and said, "Sister Yun, I have a presumptuous request. I hope you can agree to it." Because of Qian Yun Shi treated Longao quite well. She nodded and said, "What is it?" "As long as I can help you, I will definitely help you." Yun Shi thought that Longao would ask her to help the Soaring Dragon Empire because she already knew about the matter of dealing with the seal of the cave. However, the result was the same. "Sister Yun, I want to try alchemy, weapon refining, talisman refining and formation techniques. However, I don't have any alchemy recipes, weapon refining recipes, talisman recipes and formation techniques. I hope you can give me a few." He was very shocked. "You have never been to the primal chaos realm. It seems that you still don't understand the difficulty of these. Not to mention 4 together, you can't even succeed in any one of them. Otherwise, the alchemists, weapon refiners, talisman masters and formation masters in the primal chaos realm are so rare. Even in our Chenkuan city, the strongest is only a first-level alchemist and a first-level talisman master. I'm just trying. I'll study whichever one suits me and give up all those that don't suit me. In this way, when I enter the primal chaos realm in the future, I will at least have a foothold." Yun Shi instantly understood what Longao meant. She thought that he was a very smart person. After all, if Longao entered the primal chaos realm, he might be killed before he could even complete his body tempering. If he could become an alchemist, talisman master or weapon refiner, even if he was only a first-level one, he could live very well. At least in Chenkuan City, he would be valued by the 3 major families. This was a matter of no doubt. There's no harm in telling you. After all, whether it's alchemy recipes, talisman recipes or formation techniques, you can buy them everywhere in the primal chaos realm. Chapter 2839. He was shocked. Longao never thought that the chaotic realm didn't care about pill formulas, talisman formulas, and so on at all. According to Yun Shi, the chaotic realm didn't care about the so-called pill formulas, talisman formulas, formations, and weapon refining at all. Because even if you knew, whether you could become an alchemist, a weapon refiner, or a formation master was the biggest key. So what if you knew? Many years ago, I also tried to see if I could become an alchemist or a weapon refiner. Unfortunately, my talent was limited. At that time, I bought all the pill formulas, talisman formulas, and so on. I was young and ignorant at that time. Now, I'll give them all to you. Saying that, Yunshi took out 4 jade slips from the space ring. Needless to say, Longao knew what the 4 jade slips meant. Longao, because of Qian I still have to remind you. If you really have talent in one of them, then assist in one of them. I understand. Among the 4, you can try formations and weapon refining first. There was a hidden meaning in her words. Longao didn't ask more because with the 4 jade slips, it wasn't a problem for him to become a level 1 alchemist, a level 1 array master, a level 1 talisman master, and a level 1 weapon refiner. The chaotic realm had spiritual herbs, and so did the vast starry sky. As for weapon refining, formations, and talisman master, Longao wouldn't miss any of them. The Yi family, Ling family, and Yun family were each looking for the incomplete map. Whoever found it first would be able to obtain the sovereign's inheritance first, and from there, suppress the other 2 great clans. A few months later, Yunshi urgently summoned everyone, Emperor Yun, Longao, Yun Lu, Yun He, and Yun Tian, a total of 6 people. As for Yun Qian, she was rejected. The reason was very simple. Yun Qian was the person the family wanted to bring back. There must be no accidents. Eldest miss, what happened? Emperor Yun and the others were very curious. They didn't know what was going on. Was there a problem with the inheritance? Yunshi's face was very gloomy. She said, "Do you know Blood Demon?" Blood Demon? Longao was too familiar with Blood Demon. When he got the dragon seal, Blood Demon was sealed in it. And all these years, Blood Demon couldn't wait to tear him into pieces. What happened to the Blood Demon? Cloud Emperor immediately said, Blood Demon swallowed the Chaos Stone tablet back then. He is one of the strongest people in this universe. Emperor Yun's curiosity was piqued. He did not know why young mistress suddenly mentioned Blood Demon. He suppressed the anger in his heart. Uncle Di, a message for you. He didn't want to blame Emperor Uncle. After all, Emperor Yun had stayed here for countless years for the sake of his family. He didn't care about his own health. Cloud Emperor was shocked because he had already guessed that the Blood Demon must have something to do with the inheritance. It seemed that he had been careless. Before Cloud Emperor could speak, Yunshi said, I have received news that Yi Han has obtained the incomplete map that Blood Demon gave him. He has already determined the location. Ah! Upon hearing Yunshi's words, not to mention Emperor Yun and the rest, even Longao was a little shocked. This was because they had never thought that Blood Demon would have an incomplete map in his hands. It was truly unbelievable. If the Yi family really locked on to the specific location of the inheritance, then once the Yi family got the inheritance, there was no doubt that the Yi family would not only dominate Chenkuan City, but also the entire black market heaven realm. The temptation of the legacy was too great. Emperor Yun sighed deeply. He felt even more guilty. He had guarded the map for countless years, but he had never thought that the incomplete map would be in Blood Demon's hands. If he had acted earlier, his family might have already gotten the inheritance. A mistake. Yunshi couldn't bear it. She said, Uncle Di, this is not your fault. We have to be alert all the time. As long as the Yi family acts, we will go immediately. This time, we must get the inheritance. Before Yunshi could finish speaking, she had already heard a spiritual sense transmission. Wait for a moment. I will be back soon. Yunshi did not say much. She turned and left quickly. Father, this is not our fault. If we had known that Blood Demon had an incomplete map, we would have acted long ago. Why wait until now? Yunhi thought for a moment and said, the most likely reason is that Blood Demon did not know that it was an incomplete map, so he did not take it seriously. Emperor Yun nodded and said, no matter what, this is our mistake. If we did not get the inheritance, we would not be able to face the family and would not have the face to return to the family. From the beginning to the end, Longao did not say a word. This was a family matter of the Yun family. He was just an outsider. Even if he had made his relationship with Qian'er clear, he was still an outsider. An outsider was an outsider. Not only would he not gain anything from interfering, but he would also be disliked by Emperor Yun and the others. How could Longao do such a thankless thing? Longao, how much do you know about Blood Demon? Longao did not hesitate when he heard Emperor Yun's question. He told Emperor Yun about what had happened between him and Blood Demon. However, he did not tell Emperor Yun the details. I see. If I'm not mistaken, Blood Demon and the others should have followed the Yi family. The others should have followed the Ling family. It seems that we are in a passive position this time. Yunshi left for more than 6 hours before returning. She said directly, Yihan just found me. He wants the 3 families to work together to explore the land of inheritance. As for who will get the inheritance, it will be up to the fated person. What do you think? Was the Yi family that kind? This was complete nonsense. Even if Longao was beaten to death, he would not believe that Yihan would be so vast. Although he had not seen this genius of the Yi family, he could assert that no matter if it was the Yi family or the Ling family, they were determined to obtain the inheritance. Since that was the case, since they had already found the complete map, the Yi family could go and find the inheritance themselves. Why would they need to find the Ling family and the Yun family? He would not believe that there was nothing fishy about it. Miss, what does the Yi family want to do? According to my guess, although Yi Han has the complete map, he should have realized that the land of inheritance is not simple. If the Yi family goes alone, not only will they not be able to get the inheritance, they might even die there. If we work together, we have an 80% chance of entering. They had no choice. If there was any other chance, the Yi family would not do this. Under the alliance, the Yi family only had a 33% chance of getting the inheritance. What kind of concept was that? If they could not get the inheritance, then this search for the inheritance would be a gift to others. It was impossible for Yi Han to not know this. However, Yi Han still decided to work together with the Ling family and the Yun family. The biggest reason was that he did not want to die in the land of inheritance. Miss, I'm afraid that Yi Han might play tricks. We have to be careful. Chapter 2840. Cheating. How could Yunshi not know that Yi Han definitely had his own plans? However, for the sake of her family, for the sake of obtaining the inheritance, even if she knew that there was a mountain of knives and a sea of fire ahead, she still had to give it a try. High-level plane. PH, I'm really unwilling. I've already obtained the complete map, but I still have to share it with the Yun and Ling families. Yi Han was furious to the extreme. If it wasn't for the fact that he had no other choice, he definitely wouldn't be willing to do this. Blood Demon and Dragon Annihilation had already submitted to Yi Han because they knew very well that if they didn't choose to submit, only death awaited them. Yi Han had already promised them that as long as this matter was completed, they could follow Yi Han and use a secret method to forcefully return to the Yi family. They yearned for the Chaos Realm too much. If they went to the Chaos Realm alone, they could imagine what would happen. If they could join the Yun family, they would be able to gain a foothold. As for the incomplete map, even Blood Demon himself would never have thought that the incomplete map he obtained back then was actually the inheritance map. At that time, he didn't care. After joining Yi Han's team, Blood Demon accidentally saw Yi Han looking at the incomplete map in his hand and suddenly realized that he had also obtained such a map back then. The combination of the two was the complete map. Obtaining the complete map was equivalent to finding the exact location of the inheritance. How could he not be excited? How could he not be excited? But in the end, just as Yi Han was filled with excitement and prepared to secretly head to the location indicated on the map to obtain the inheritance alone, he suddenly realized that things weren't as simple as he thought. According to the map, there was a passage in the land of inheritance that couldn't be opened by just 3 lower gods. At least 7 lower gods would be needed to open it. In other words, he had to join forces with the Yun and Ling families to open the passage. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to step into the land of inheritance, let alone obtain the so-called inheritance. How could he be willing? How could he not be angry? Once the Yun and Ling families also stepped into the land of inheritance, then the inheritance wouldn't be something that he could obtain. If the inheritance was obtained by the other two families, the consequences would be obvious. Even he couldn't accept such an outcome. So what if he wasn't willing? Did he really have to give up the land of inheritance? Even if he was willing, his family wouldn't be willing. Sir, even if the Yun and Ling families step into the land of inheritance, they might not be able to obtain the inheritance. I have a way to gain an advantage. Speak. Yi Han was quite satisfied with Dragon Annihilation and Blood Demon. Not only were the two of them talented, but they were also very good in other aspects. It was because of this that he intended to bring them back to the family to nurture them. If the two of them were able to become gods in the future, it would be a good choice for the clan. Sir, we have the complete map. We won't allow them to see it when the time comes. In that case, even if they enter the land of inheritance, what can they do? What did that mean? Yi Han did not understand what the blood demon was trying to say. The map could only lead them to the exact location of the land of legacy. However, Yi Han was no fool. Since Bloodseeker had said so, he must have his reasons. It would be best if he could kill everyone from the Yun family and the Ling family at the same time, except for Ling Ruori. This was because Yi Han knew that both the Ling family and the Yun family had sent out their most talented disciples. If they died here, it would be a great loss to the two families. My lord, I've been studying this map for the past few days and discovered a problem. Hurry up and say it. Hearing Blood Demon's words, Yi Han was somewhat impatient. If he could discover something from the map, he would be more confident about going to the land of inheritance. If he could get the inheritance of the Supreme Being, he would be able to conquer the Blackstone Heavenly region, let alone Chenkuan City. Just thinking about it made him excited. Looking at the map on the table, Blood Demon smiled and said, according to my guess, if nothing goes wrong, this map can not only help us to locate the location of the inheritance, but it can also lead us to the real land of inheritance. Blood Demon used his spiritual consciousness to tell Yi Han the secret that he had discovered. The other two from the Yi family did not think much about it. However, Long Mie was furious. What a blood demon! Even though he had already submitted to the Yi family, facing the temptation of the inheritance, even Long Mie was not willing to give it up. If he could get the inheritance, even if he stepped into the chaotic realm, he would not have to join the Yi family. Perhaps the Yi family would have to rely on him then. However, Blood Demon was obviously sucking up to Yi Han. Using his spiritual consciousness, he could not possibly know what the two of them were talking about. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. He laughed crazily and his laughter was filled with endless excitement and excitement. Blood Demon, when this is done, follow me back to the family. I will definitely let the family train you to break through the peak of lower god and become a middle god as soon as possible. Thank you, sir. No one noticed that a cold light flashed in Blood Demon's eyes. However, it was just a flash and no one noticed it. In another high-level realm, Ling Ruori's face was also very serious. She was not excited at all because Yi Han invited her to go to the land of inheritance. Because Ling Ruori knew very well that Yi Han was not so kind. Who knew what Yi Han was up to? At this time, Ling Xiu suddenly stood up and said, Sister, no matter what Yi Han's purpose is, we have to go to the land of inheritance. If the inheritance is obtained by the Yi family, then we will be in a very passive position. Yes, I know. But Yi Han's purpose of inviting us should be that he can't open the passage to the land of inheritance alone. However, we do not have a complete map. This time, I have a bad feeling about entering the land of inheritance. What was wrong with Sister? Looking at Sister in front of them, both Ling Xiu and Ling Cheng were very curious. Sister was never like this, especially when it came to important matters. She was very decisive. Sister, are we going to give up? We can't give up. You're right. We can't let the Yi family get the inheritance. And we have to get the inheritance too. This is the best time for our family to rise. We can't miss it. Otherwise, I, Ling Ruori, will be the sinner of the Ling family. So will all of you. Ling Ruori's words were very serious. However, as a member of the Ling family, she knew very well what they should do. Just like Yun Shi, They knew that there were dangers ahead, but they still wanted to go to the land of inheritance. Chapter 2841. 3 days later. Yi family, Ling family, Yun family, and other outsiders gathered at Jianling Mountain. Looking at Xuemo and Longmi standing behind Yi Han, Longao already knew that the two of them had already joined the Yi family. As for Ling family, they were more powerful than Yi family. They had recruited 5 people, namely Tian Dao, Yi Zhimai, Long Ming, Ruo Mu, and Luo Mu. Seeing Ruo Mu and Luo Mu, Longao was a little surprised. He thought the two of them would not be willing to participate in the fight, so they chose to cultivate in seclusion until they mastered the power of chaos and entered the chaotic realm. But after thinking about it, he understood. If they could find a backer like Ling family, once they were forcefully brought into the chaotic realm, they would have a stable position. For these lower gods, Long Mie and the rest were insignificant. If not for the fact that these people were talented, Yi Han and Ling Ruori would not even look at them. Yun Shi wanted to recruit them, but after hearing Emperor Yun's words, she gave up. The reason was simple. Long Ao had a grudge against these people. There was no need to make Chen Er unhappy because of these people. After all, Chen Er's talent was obvious. If she could return to her family, it would mean a lot. Yi Han, shouldn't you copy the complete map for us? Yun family had copied the map. Under normal circumstances, since Yi family had the complete map, they should copy it too. Ling Ruori said, Yun Shi is right. Since we are in an alliance, you should copy the complete map. Everyone gets a copy. This is fair. No problem, but I want the original map in Yun Shi's hands. Only then can I copy the complete map. Impossible. The more Yi Han acted like this, the more Yun Shi felt that something was wrong. Was there something wrong with the map? Just as Yun Shi thought, there was something wrong with the map. This was Blood Demon's idea. First, he had to get the original map. Otherwise, everything would be empty talk. Yi Han smiled and said coldly, I am the only one who has the complete map. If not for the fact that the 3 big families are in Chenkuan City, I would not have formed an alliance with you. No one would believe him. Of course, Yun Shi and Ling Ruori would not believe Yi Han. If he could take it for himself, Yi Han would run faster than anyone else. If that's the case, then our alliance ends here. Yi Han left without giving Yun Shi any time to think. I'll give it to you. Yun Shi handed over the original map. Yi Han did not hesitate and immediately made 2 copies of the complete map. He gave one to Ling Ruori and the other to Yun Shi. Yi Han was extremely excited. He had finally obtained the complete original version of the map. This time, the inheritance was his and did not belong to the Ling family or the Yun family. He laughed maniacally in his heart. Yun Shi's expression was extremely gloomy. If it wasn't a last resort, she wouldn't be willing to hand over the original map because her intuition told her that Yi Han was definitely up to something. Ling Ruori did not say much. Although she knew that Yi Han was up to no good, there was nothing they could do since the map was in Yi Han's hands. You could say that. At this moment, Yi Han had completely taken the initiative. Regardless of whether it was the Yun family or the Ling family, they were all too passive. Endure. She had to endure. After Ling Ruori and Yun Shi received the map, they finally realized that something was wrong. It was not that Yi Han was being kind and wanted to share the land of inheritance with them. It was because according to the map, they had to open the passage to enter the land of inheritance. It was impossible to open the passage with just the 3 of them. Only if there were more than 7 lower gods could they open the passage and enter the land of inheritance. Yun Shi and Ling Ruori looked at Yi Han. They were extremely angry. However, it was not the right time for them to strike. They had spent so much effort to come to the starry sky. It was not to deal with Yi Han and the others. It was for the land of inheritance. The only way to obtain the inheritance was to obey the decree. Senior Emperor Yun, you better remind Sister Yun that there is something fishy about this. If I'm not wrong, the original complete map can not only lock the exact location of the land of inheritance, but also allow one to enter the land of inheritance and obtain the inheritance. Emperor Yun did not think about this. He had always thought that Yi Han wanted the original map to show off the Yi family's arrogance. He did not expect this to be the case. Now that he thought about it, it was true. Otherwise, Yi Han would not give up on entering the land of inheritance to obtain the original complete map. It was too fishy. Emperor Yun did not dare to be careless. He immediately came to Yunxi's side and told her what he was worried about through his spiritual sense. Yunxi was furious. However, she had already handed over the original map. It was obviously unrealistic to ask Yi Han for it now. Without the help of Yi Han and the other two, they would not be able to open the passage and enter the land of inheritance. Wait and see. Once we enter the land of inheritance, if there are any changes, immediately kill Yi Han and the rest. Understood. Yi Han was very excited when he received the original complete map. It was as if he could already see himself obtaining the inheritance. He smiled and said, Yunxi, Ruori, since no one has any objections, let's not delay and head to the land of inheritance immediately. Since things had already turned out this way, neither Yunxi nor Ling Ruori could object. No matter what Yi Han wanted to do, they had to go to the land of inheritance. If they did not even go, wouldn't Yi Han be taking advantage of them? Longao had only seen the incomplete map. As for the complete map, he did not know where the land of inheritance was. Among the crowd, only Yunxi, Ling Ruori, Yi Han, and Blood Demon knew. The rest could only follow. Everyone's speed was extremely fast. After all, everyone was incomparably excited at the thought of entering the land of inheritance. As for the inheritance, it wasn't something that could be obtained just because you were strong. The more powerful the inheritance or treasure, the more it would be obtained by the fated person. Everyone was clear about this point in their hearts. Because of this, Luo Mu and the rest were also looking forward to it. If they could obtain the inheritance, they would not have to wag their tails like dogs. By then, even if they did not join the Yun family, they would still be able to survive in the chaotic realm. Longao, when we enter the land of inheritance, don't leave me. I will protect you. Longao knew very well why Yunxi was doing this. If it were not for Qian Yunxi would not care about his life or death. However, Longao did have a good impression of Yunxi. She was not like the other families, such as Yi Han and Ling Ruori, who were aloof. Chapter 2842. Thank you. I'm doing this for Qian sake. I hope you won't disappoint me. Longao didn't say anything. No matter what price he had to get the inheritance and give it to Qian Tianwu continent. Looking at the plain in front of them, not only Longao, but even Emperor Yun and the others were shocked. They had never thought that the inheritance would be Tianwu continent. What was going on? According to Blood Demon, there is a chaos channel in Tianwu continent. Remember, don't destroy it. Otherwise, if the chaos channel collapses, we will all die here. Everyone chose to ignore Yi Han. Everyone was very clear about what Yi Han had just said. The chaos channel couldn't withstand a battle between lower gods. Once it collapsed, the starry sky crack would devour everyone, and even those at the peak of the low-level deity stage were no exception. Everyone was excited to enter Tianwu continent. As for Longao, his heart was heavy because he thought of a key point, and that was the clairvoyant. There were 9 great chaos sources in the vast universe, which were the 9 chaos channels. It was impossible that the clairvoyant didn't know. If that was the case, why would the clairvoyant guard Tianwu continent and a chaos channel? It didn't make sense. There must be something fishy. The clairvoyant wasn't simple. Even Emperor Yun said so. According to the map, the inheritance was at the bottom of a mountain in Tianwu continent. It was very hidden and there wasn't even an ant, let alone a person. In such a desolate place, it was hard to find if one didn't pay attention. Moreover, how many people would think that this was the inheritance left behind by a supreme expert? If other people in the vast universe knew about it, Longmire and the others wouldn't wait for the 3 great families to come. The inheritance is in front. According to the map, at least 7 lower gods are needed to break open the channel. Besides Yunlu, there are 8 of us. We should be able to do it. I have no problem. I have no problem too. The three great families came for the inheritance. It wasn't easy to find this place. How could they choose to give up so easily? Even if the three great families had any grudges, they had to endure it in front of the inheritance. The legacy was more important. Yun Shi and her companions, Yi Han and his two companions, Ling Ruori and her two companions, a total of 8 lower gods. Among them, there were 3 peak lower gods. All of them took dozens of steps forward. He stared at the mountain peak in front of him. The 8 of them followed the instructions on the map and activated it with all their might. Boom, 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 boom. The sound shook heaven and earth. It's open. Everyone looked at the passageway that had suddenly appeared in front of them. They were truly curious. Wasn't this passageway a little too easy to open? So easy that it was a little too strange. However, in front of the inheritance, no one would consider so much. Yi Han was the first to step into the passageway. The rest of the people didn't dare to hesitate and immediately followed in a single file. Not long after, everyone had successfully entered the passageway. Looks like we've made things simple. If I'm not mistaken, we still haven't entered the true legacy ground. There was no need for Yun Shi to say anything. The others understood what was going on very well. He had thought that the passageway had been opened too easily, but it turned out that the real passageway had not been opened yet. The 8 demigods didn't hesitate in the slightest, immediately reactivating it. The land of inheritance was right in front of them, and no one could wait any longer. Except for Longao. He stood at the back of everyone, looking at the ball of white light in front of him. He didn't know why, but he felt that the land of inheritance was a little strange. The fact that the 8 demigods could open the passageway was already an incredible thing. Could it be that the passageway didn't require the help of a key to open? This was what Longao felt was the most strange. As expected. Just as Longao had guessed, the 8 demigods had joined forces and attacked the ball of white light continuously. However, it was like a stone sinking into the sea. There wasn't even a single ripple. What was going on? Everyone was completely stunned. They had thought that it would be easy to enter the land of inheritance, but they didn't expect to be blocked by a ball of white light at this time. Even if the 8 demigods joined forces, they couldn't break it open. Everyone's expression was very ugly, especially Yi Han. He had already seen that not only had he obtained the inheritance, but he had also killed everyone from the Yun family and the Ling family, except for Ling Ruori. But now, not to mention obtaining the inheritance, whether they could even enter the land of inheritance was still unknown. Blood Demon, what should we do now? Yi Han had already treated Blood Demon as one of his own, and he was even the military advisor. As for Long Mie, he was extremely depressed. He and Blood Demon had joined Yi Han at the same time, but Blood Demon was put in an important position, and he was useless. Long Mie knew very well that even if he was talented, if he was useless to Yi Han, he might be killed by Yi Han, let alone entering the Yun family and establishing a foothold in the Chaos Realm. Before Blood Demon could speak, Long Mie immediately said, "Young master, according to my guess, we can't just have the map. We need to find the key." Key? Long Mie wasn't the only one who thought of it. Everyone else thought of it at the same time. Besides the key, there was no way to open the land of inheritance. Not to mention the 8 demigods joining forces, even the 8 demigods might not be able to open the passageway. However, no one knew where the key was. At this moment, the white ball of light suddenly released a ball of white light, slowly converging into an illusory white figure. At a glance, it was very ethereal and blurry, and one couldn't see the face clearly. One could only know that it was a man, and a burly man at that. "Welcome everyone to my land of inheritance. However, if you want to enter the land of inheritance, you must first find the key to open the land of inheritance." As for the key, at this point, the white figure thought for a moment, paused, and continued, "If you want to open the land of inheritance, you must find 3 keys. Let me give you a hint. The 3 keys are all in this plane, and all of them are the blood of spiritual beasts." Blood of spiritual beasts. No one would think that the spiritual beasts mentioned by the white figure were space mythical beasts. They must be spiritual beasts from the Chaos Realm. As for what level they were, they didn't know. However, there were too many spiritual beasts in the Tianwu continent. How could they lock onto them? If the spiritual beasts deliberately hid their aura, even they wouldn't be able to find them. As if he could guess what everyone was thinking, the white figure smiled strangely and said, Thunderfire Lion, Black Gold Ape, Divine Phantom Eagle. Chapter 2843. Thunderfire Lion, Black Gold Ape, Divine Phantom Eagle. Senior, may I ask what level these spiritual beasts are? The level was too important. If the 3 spiritual beasts were of the middle god level, they would choose to give up. It was like throwing an egg against a rock if they wanted to fight against the middle god level spiritual beasts. The white figure did not say anything and gradually disappeared. In the next second, everyone from the 3 families quickly left the passage. If they wanted to enter the land of inheritance, they had to get the blood of the 3 spiritual beasts. Although the white figure did not say it clearly, they knew very well that they could not do without the blood of any spiritual beasts. If they could find the blood of the 3 spiritual beasts by themselves, it meant that they could enter the land of inheritance alone. Speed. Luck. Strength. The Tianwu Plain is not too big. My primordial spirit has covered the entire plain, but I did not find any trace of the 3 spiritual beasts. Yunshi's face was very ugly. Emperor Yun said, Miss, if I am not wrong, the 3 spiritual beasts should be hiding their aura and sleeping. Otherwise, how could the clairvoyant and Yi Dugu not find any trace of the 3 spiritual beasts after so many years? Yunshi nodded. If the white figure did not say it, they would not believe that there would be spiritual beasts from the chaotic world in such a small plain. Yunshi did not know if Yi Han and Ling Ruori could find the 3 spiritual beasts. The Yun family could not lose. They could not afford to lose. What do you think we should do now? It was difficult to find the 3 spiritual beasts in the Tianwu Plain without using the primordial spirit to detect their aura. Who knew where the 3 spiritual beasts were hiding? Emperor Yun and Yun Lu shook their heads helplessly. Although they had been guarding the starry sky for so many years, they knew nothing about the Tianwu Plain. At this moment, Yunshi looked at Longao behind her and asked, What about you? Although I was born in the Tianwu Plain, I left when I reached the starry sky realm. But what? Yunshi was anxious. No matter what the clues were, as long as she could help the Yun family get the inheritance, she would do anything. Emperor Yun and Yun Lu were also anxious. They seemed to think that Longao already knew. They did not care. How could Longao not know what the Yun family was thinking? The inheritance was of great importance. No matter which clan obtained it, they would be able to suppress the other 2 clans in the future. Not only that. Although he still did not know what kind of expert had left behind the inheritance, according to Yunshi, the inheritance in the starry sky was very likely to be the inheritance of a god king. Divine king's inheritance, what kind of concept was that? Godly kings had supreme strength and status in the Chaos Realm. The domain lords of the 33 lower heaven domains were all godly king-level characters. From this, one could imagine what a godly king meant. No wonder the Yun family was so nervous. No wonder the 3 great clans were so nervous. If he could obtain the divine king's inheritance, he would have an 80% chance of becoming a divine king. At that time, not only would he be able to dominate Chenkuan City, he would also be able to conquer the entire Blackstone heavenly region. If it wasn't for Qian Longao definitely wouldn't have participated in this matter. However, all of this was for Qian. If Qian could obtain the inheritance of the God King and become a God King, it would be a good thing. The Outer Sea. Longao didn't know whether his guess was correct or not, but his intuition told him that the Outer Sea was definitely not normal. The godly diviner couldn't have suffered for so many years for a primal chaos channel. There had to be some secret that outsiders didn't know about. Could it be that the godly diviner had remained on the martial heaven continent for the God King's inheritance? That shouldn't be the case. Since the godly diviner knew that the martial heaven continent had the God King's inheritance, then he definitely had the map. Since that was the case, why hadn't he made a move yet? The three great clans had descended on the martial heaven plane at the same time, but the godly diviner and Yi Dugu had disappeared. Wasn't that too much of a coincidence? The outer sea. Yoon Di immediately said, "Young miss, according to what I know, the godly diviner has been guarding the martial heaven continent for so many years, especially the crystal palace in the outer sea." "I see. Let's go." She wasn't willing to give up on any clues. In any case, she didn't have the slightest clue. She might as well go to the outer sea to take a look. The three great clans. Whether it was Yi Han, Yun Shi, or Ling Ruori, they had already decided that if the three great spiritual beasts were lower gods, they would take the risk and try. If the three great spiritual beasts were mid-gods, they would leave immediately. Even if they wanted to obtain the God King's inheritance, so what? Their lives were more important. The outer sea. The current outer sea was no longer the same as before. Ever since the previous incident, the godly diviner had destroyed the entire martial heaven continent. Longao felt very guilty because if it wasn't for him, the martial heaven continent wouldn't have fallen to such a state. He felt deeply guilty, but since things had already come to this, Longao didn't continue to dwell on this issue. In the Crystal Palace, there wasn't a single person in it. As soon as Yunshi arrived, she immediately released her powerful primordial spirit and began to cover the entire Crystal Palace, even the entire outer sea. She hoped to find the three great spiritual beasts, even if it was just one of them. As long as she could obtain the blood of one of the spiritual beasts, the Yun clan would have full confidence in entering the inheritance ground. The reason was very simple. Even if the other two clans could obtain the blood of the other spiritual beasts, without her own blood, they wouldn't be able to open the passage. Because of this, she couldn't wait to obtain a spiritual beast. No. Yes. Just as she said no, Longao said yes. Everyone looked at Longao curiously. Could it be that Longao's primordial spirit was stronger than Yunshi's? That was complete nonsense. Yunshi wasn't just a low god, she was a peak low god. As for Longao, he had only just refined the primal chaos tablet. He hadn't even become a half-step low god. In other words, his primordial spirit was definitely weaker than Yunshi's. Let alone Longao, even Emperor Yun's primordial spirit wasn't on the same level as Yunshi's. However, Yunshi didn't care at all. She immediately asked, "Where is it?" "Everyone, follow me." Longao truly wasn't a low god. Under normal circumstances, his primordial spirit wouldn't be stronger than Yunshi's. However, in front of a freak like Longao, the situation was completely different. Ever since his primordial spirit had transformed, Longao's primordial spirit had become so powerful that it was comparable to Yunshi's. It might even be stronger. This was the true reason why Longao could sense the presence of a chaos spiritual beast. As for which chaos spiritual beast it was unknown. Chapter 2844. The outer sea was boundless. The area of the outer sea was much larger than the land. But to everyone, whether it was the outer sea or the land, it was all the same. On an island in the outer sea. "Longao, you said the spiritual beast is here?" "Yes, my intuition tells me that it should be here." Intuition? Longao actually relied on intuition. Yunshi was also a little doubtful, but she had no clue at the moment. She could only wait and see if Longao's intuition was right. She hoped it was. "Longao, are you able to sense who the spirit beast here is?" "Thunder Fire Lion, Black Gold Ape, Divine Phantom Eagle." Thunder Fire. Longao could vaguely sense a trace of Thunder Fire aura. If there was no accident, the spiritual beast here should be the so-called Thunder Fire Lion. Very surprised. Longao could even sense what spiritual beast it was. Didn't that mean that Longao's primordial spirit was very powerful? It had even surpassed a lower god. How was that possible? No one said anything. They were skeptical because no one knew whether Longao was telling the truth or not. Longao didn't care at all. Soon, everyone arrived outside a valley. Looking from afar, the valley was surrounded by purple mist with traces of fire. There was no need to ask. Yunshi and the others already knew. If there was no accident, Longao's intuition should be correct. The thunder fire lion of the three spiritual beasts. But even so, Yun Shi and the others weren't excited at all. Because in their opinion, the strength of the thunder fire lion was still a mystery. If the thunder fire lion was only a lower god, then there was no doubt that Yun Shi, Yun Lu, and Emperor Yun were enough to kill the thunder fire lion and take its blood essence. If the thunder fire lion was a middle god or a higher god, then there was no doubt that they could kill it and take its blood essence. They could just turn around and kill it. To contend against a god or a high god was simply an impossible task. First, he wanted to ascertain the strength of the thunderfire lion in the valley. Longao, I want to ask you, is your primal spirit strong enough to surpass the primal spirit of a demigod? Of course, Longao knew what Yunshi meant. He smiled. Of course, Longao would not tell Yunshi his secret. Instead, he said, back then, when I was in a life-and-death situation, my essence soul underwent a mutation, so, at this point, Longao did not continue. Yun Shi and the others nodded. Of course, they already knew what Longao meant. His primordial spirit mutated. It seemed like Longao's primordial spirit wasn't very powerful, but it had some special abilities, such as sensing the existence of the thunderfire lion. Whether it was a good thing or a bad thing was still unknown. All of you, be careful. If the thunderfire lion is truly a god or a high god, we have to leave immediately. Everyone nodded to show that they understood. He didn't want to give up. The thunderfire lion was right in front of them. If they could successfully kill it and absorb its essence blood, then entering the land of inheritance would be a sure thing. Yun Shi took the lead, followed by Emperor Yun, Yun Lu, Yun He, Yun Tian, and finally Longao. It could be seen that whoever was the weakest would be the last to leave. Longao didn't care about this at all. Among the group, he was indeed the weakest. However, he knew very well that if it was a real battle, apart from Yun Shi and Emperor Yun, the other three would definitely not be his match. There was no doubt about that. Everyone was very nervous. They all stared at the valley in front of them. Although they were moving very slowly, in just a few minutes, they had all entered the valley. Purple mist lingered and there were flames everywhere. There was a terrifying aura that enveloped everyone. A lower god, just one step away from the peak. Previously, she wasn't very sure. However, after entering the valley, Yunshi was 100% sure that the thunderfire lion in the valley was only a lower god, not a god, nor a high god. The thunderfire lion hadn't even reached the peak of a lower god. Such a spiritual beast should be more than enough for them to deal with. Yunshi was extremely surprised. If the thunderfire lion was really that powerful, they wouldn't have the slightest bit of worry. It wouldn't be difficult to kill the thunderfire lion. As long as they could kill the thunderfire lion and extract its essence blood, they would be able to enter the land of inheritance even if they couldn't obtain the essence blood of the other two spiritual beasts. If they could kill the three spiritual beasts and extract their essence blood, then the other two clans wouldn't have anything to do with it. Yun Shi wasn't a kind person. If her clan could enter the land of inheritance alone, that would be the best thing that could happen. How could everyone not know what Yun Shi was thinking? Lower god. Just as everyone was about to go deeper, a voice suddenly sounded around the valley. It was obvious that it was the thunderfire lion's voice. Although Yun Shi didn't care much about the thunderfire lion, she didn't let her guard down. No matter what, the other party was still a lower god-level thunderfire lion. Moreover, it was the key to entering the land of inheritance. Who knew if there was something fishy going on? In the next second, the purple mist in front of them instantly disappeared without a trace, and a huge monster appeared in front of them. Looking at it, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This was a huge wild lion. Its entire body was purple, and there were traces of fire flowing around it. It was the thunderfire wild lion. Looking at the huge creature in front of him, Emperor Yun's expression changed. He exclaimed, "You're not an ordinary thunderfire lion. You're the king of the thunderfire lion tribe. You. Others might not know what a king meant, but how could Yun Shi and Emperor Yun not know? Although the king of the thunderfire lion tribe wasn't a middle god or upper god, or even a lower god, No one would underestimate the strength of the Thunderfire Lion. Even a middle god wouldn't dare to be careless. The king of the Thunderfire Lion possessed the power of thunder and fire. It was too terrifying. Yun Shi and the others retreated and prepared to leave. They would wait until they returned to the clan and see what the clan would do. It would be best if they could send a middle god. Previously, they didn't know if there really was a land of inheritance, so the clan didn't dare to risk sending a middle god. After all, a middle god was too important to the Yun clan. However, as if she thought of something, Yun Shi stopped abruptly. She stared at the Thunderfire Lion in front of her and said, "For the clan, I can sacrifice everything. Longao, you're not a member of the Yun clan. Leave this place first. Remember, you must protect Qian-Er. If there's a chance in the future, bring Qian-Er to Chenkuan City." Chapter 28:45. How could Longao not know what Yun Shi meant? Longao shook his head and said, "I'll leave you behind to help you." Yun Shi seemed to want to say something, but Emperor Yun said, "Then I'll have to trouble you." Yun Shi was very curious, not knowing what Emperor Yun meant. Even though Longao had already refined the Chaos Tablet, he had not really become a lower god. Staying behind would only lead to death. Just with the Chaos Divine weapon in his hand? That was utter nonsense. But Yun Shi did not continue to say anything, because at this moment, the Thunderfire Lion was clearly angry. Terrifying thunderfire instantly enveloped the entire valley. "Trespassing into my forbidden area, all of you must die. Attack with all your might." Finally, it was clear that if they did not attack with all their might, once the Thunderfire Lion gained the initiative, they would definitely die. Yun Shi and Emperor Yun attacked from the front and back. As for Longao and the other two, they circled behind the Thunderfire Lion, preparing to attack from all sides. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha, it laughed maniacally. How could the Thunderfire Lion take Yun Shi and the others seriously? It was a complete joke. As a peak lower god, Yun Shi's strength was needless to say. When she collided with the Thunderfire Lion, Yun Shi's body flew out like a kite with a broken string. Catch! Yun Tian and Yun He were already entangled with the Thunderfire Lion, but the two of them did not dare to meet force with force. Because if the Thunderfire Lion wanted to, it only needed one move to destroy them. The two of them had never entered the Chaos Realm, so they had not really become lower gods. Longao took a big step forward and protected Yun Shi. Under normal circumstances, the Thunderfire Lion was no match for Yun Shi. But the Thunderfire Lion in front of them was the king of the Thunderfire Lion tribe. Although it had not reached the peak of lower god, its strength was not to be underestimated. Longao was a little shocked. The Thunderfire Lion could actually meet force with Yun Shi. The Thunderfire Lion is heavily injured. This is the best time to get rid of it. Yun Shi was indeed a peak lower god. She did not attack to kill the Thunderfire Lion, but to test the Thunderfire Lion's true strength, to see if it was as strong as the legend said it was. A pleasant surprise. This was definitely a pleasant surprise. Upon hearing Yun Shi's words, not only Longao, but even Emperor Yun and the others were overjoyed. They had never thought that the Thunderfire Lion would be severely injured. They were really lucky. Yun Shi was not injured. She was also very surprised. This time, no one was polite or worried. If they couldn't even take care of an injured Thunderfire Lion, they wouldn't have the qualifications to enter the land of inheritance. Everyone knew very well that the danger of the Thunderfire Lion was nothing compared to the danger of the land of inheritance. The Thunderfire Lion did not expect that there would be a peak lower deity among the crowd. If he was at his peak, he wouldn't be afraid at all. But now, the situation was obviously different. Back then, for some reason, the Thunder and Fire Lion had been severely injured. Even after recuperating for so many years, he still had not made any progress. If it were just Emperor Yun and the others, the Thunder and Fire Lion might not care. However, with a peak lower celestial, it would be difficult for him to deal with them this time. Thinking of someone trying to kill it while it was heavily injured, the Thunderfire Lion couldn't help but feel furious. Anger turned into murderous intent. Yun Shi and the Thunderfire Lion fought head-on. Among the crowd, Only Yun-shi could fight the Thunderfire Lion head-on. As for the others, they were attacking from all sides. The Thunderfire Lion had been hit consecutively. It was already heavily injured. Now, it could be said that it was injured on top of its injuries. Crack! The Thunderfire Lion's left leg was broken. Its angry roar resounded throughout the valley. Despicable and shameless humans. Even if I die, I won't do as you wish. He's going to self-destruct. Quick! Everyone's expression changed when they saw that the Thunderfire Lion was going to self-destruct. Even if the Thunderfire Lion was heavily injured, its strength was still there. Once it self-destructed, everyone would die, including Yun-shi. Longao also knew what it meant for the Thunderfire Lion to self-destruct. No matter what price they had to pay, they couldn't let the Thunderfire Lion self-destruct. Otherwise, everyone here would die. No one would be left alive. In the battle just now, except for Longao, everyone else had used all their strength to deal with the Thunderfire Lion. It could be said that all of them were seriously injured. Only Longao wasn't injured at all. Longao knew very well that Yun-shi and the others were deliberately protecting him. If he wasn't with Yun-chen, he believed that Yun-shi and the others wouldn't care about his life and death. However, Longao was still very touched. If it were someone else, even if he was with Yun-chen, he might not be able to do this, especially in a life-and-death situation. Longao didn't hesitate at all. At this time, when the others couldn't continue to attack, only he could stop the Thunderfire Lion from self-destructing. Without hesitation, he attacked with his primordial spirit. The fourth of the 9 Chaos Axes, Spirit Annihilation. The real power of this move was combined with the primordial Chaos Axe. This was also Longao's first real attack. Spirit Annihilation combined with the primordial Chaos Axe. The Thunderfire Lion, who was about to self-destruct, suddenly roared angrily. Its whole body was constantly trembling and its primordial spirit was almost annihilated. This was something he never expected. If it was the previous Thunderfire Lion, it was basically impossible for Longao to use Spirit Annihilation to successfully destroy the Thunderfire Lion, but now it was completely possible. The reason was very simple. Because of the previous battle, the Thunderfire Lion was injured and its primordial spirit was also seriously injured. This time, Longao could successfully annihilate the Spirit Annihilation. Seeing that Longao actually succeeded in stopping the Thunderfire Lion from self-destructing and seriously injuring the primordial spirit of the Thunderfire Lion, Yun-shi and the others were completely shocked. If Longao was a lower god, then this was possible, but Longao wasn't even half a lower god. Was this true? If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they really didn't want to believe that this was true. Longao didn't hesitate at all. After seriously injuring the Thunderfire Lion, he immediately began to attack the Thunderfire Lion frantically. Now, the Thunderfire Lion didn't have the slightest ability to resist. In just a few minutes, the Thunderfire Lion had already fallen. Until now, the Thunderfire Lion didn't expect that it would be killed by a few people it didn't put in its eyes at all. It died with its eyes wide open, but everything was over. Even if the Thunderfire Lion wanted to regret, it was too late. Longao, take out the beast core and take its blood essence. Chapter 2846. Take its blood essence. Longao was also very clear on what the Thunderfire Lion's blood essence meant to the land of inheritance. Without the key, they could not enter the land of inheritance. As long as they could get the blood essence of the Thunder and Fire Lion, the other families could get it too. The Yun family could also enter the land of inheritance. It was strange. There was only one drop of blood essence in the huge body of the Thunder and Fire Lion. Yes, it was one drop. Not only Longao, but even Yun-shi and the rest were curious. They did not expect the Thunder and Fire Lion to only have one drop of blood essence. After a few hours of rest, Yun-shi and the rest were mostly healed. Ha ha ha, I did not expect the Yun family to find a drop of blood essence so quickly. Congratulations. Hearing the voice, Yun-shi's face changed. It was none other than Yi Han, Ling Ruori, and the rest. The previous battle was too terrifying. If Yi Han and the rest were not looking for spiritual beasts, they would have come long ago. Emperor Yun smiled and said, "We are lucky to have met the severely injured Thunder and Fire Lion. That is why we can get its blood essence." Longao did not give the Thunder and Fire Lion's beast elixir to Yun Shi. Instead, he kept it for himself. According to Yun Shi, the alchemists in the Chaos Realm, no matter what level they were at, had to use beast elixirs as a primer if they wanted to refine high-level elixirs. It could be said that there was a huge difference between a level 1 pill that was concocted with a beast pill as a primer and a level 1 pill that was not concocted with a beast pill as a primer. The spiritual beasts in the Chaos Realm were the key to refining elixirs. How could Longao give up such a benefit? As for the blood essence, Longao was only keeping it temporarily. Yun Shi, everyone has a share. Shouldn't you take out this drop of blood essence? Both Yi Han and Ling Ruori realized that there was only one drop of blood essence in the Thunder and Fire Lion. If they could get this drop of blood essence, they would definitely be able to enter the land of inheritance. If necessary, they would not hesitate to snatch it. Yi Han, all 3 keys must be gathered to open the land of inheritance. I only got the blood essence of the Thunder and Fire Lion. The Yun family will not interfere with the blood essence of the other 2 spiritual beasts. What do you think? Sure. Yun Shi did not expect Yi Han to agree so quickly. Could it be that Yi Han had already obtained the blood essence of the other 2 spirit beasts? As expected, a drop of blood appeared in Ling Ruori and Yi Han's hands at the same time. It was the blood of the other 2 spiritual beasts. Ever since then, the blood essences of the Thunderfire Lion, Black Gold Ape, and Divine Phantom Condor had all been found. As for how the Yi family and the Ling family found them, the 2 of them did not say, and Yun Shi did not ask. This was just like how the 2 of them did not ask Yun Shi how she locked onto the Thunderfire Lion. The 3 great clans all had their own ulterior motives. Now that they had successfully found the 3 drops of blood essence, the 3 families could not wait to enter the land of legacy. Out of the tunnel, looking at the white light in front of them, Yun Shi, Ling Ruori, and Yi Han all took out their blood essence. The 3 drops of blood essence began to converge and completely fuse into the white light. Let's go. Everyone was overjoyed when they saw the passageway in front of them. This passageway was the true entrance to the legacy land. Each one was faster than the other. In less than a few seconds, everyone had successfully entered the spatial gate. The white light kept flashing. The land of legacy. If you want to obtain the inheritance, you have to rely on your own abilities. Let's go. Yi Han did not want to wait any longer. He did not even wait for Yun Shi and Ling Ruori to say anything. He immediately left with his men. As everyone knew, Yi Han liked Ling Ruori. However, in front of the inheritance of the Supreme Being, Yi Han would rather give up on Ling Ruori than give up the inheritance of the Supreme Being. Blood Demon despised Yi Han in his heart. He could not do anything right. Even if he knew that the map in his hands could help them find the inheritance, he should not have been so anxious. If others were to be suspicious, there would be more trouble for no reason. However, Yi Han's abilities were there for all to see. If he was not satisfied with anything, he knew what the consequences would be. However, Blood Demon and even Long Mier had already decided that no matter what, as long as they could find the inheritance later, they would fight for it even if it meant risking their lives. The inheritance of the Supreme Being. If they could successfully obtain the inheritance of the Supreme Being, they would have to offend the entire Yi family, let alone Yi Han. Yun Shi, do you feel that something is wrong with Yi Han? Ling Ruori was very curious. She did not know what was wrong with Yi Han. He seemed to be very anxious, as if he had already obtained the inheritance. This was not Yi Han's style. Yun Shi also felt that something was wrong. She nodded and said, previously, Yi Han would rather not enter the land of legacy and wanted the original complete map. It seems that something is wrong. Could there be something wrong with the map? That's right. If I'm not wrong, there must be something wrong with the map in Yi Han's hands. It might be related to the inheritance. We'd better catch up with them as soon as possible. All right. No matter where it was, there were no eternal enemies and no eternal friends. At this moment, in order to find the inheritance, Yun Shi and Ling Ruoyi chose to cooperate temporarily. Both parties quickly chased after Yi Han. Yi Han could not wait any longer. As long as he could obtain the inheritance of the Supreme Being, everything else was nonsense. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. However, at this moment, Blood Demon suddenly said, "Young master, let's listen. If we find the inheritance based on the map now, it might not be yours." "What do you mean?" Yi Han stopped abruptly. His face was very pale. Now, he trusted Blood Demon very much. Because of this, Yi Han knew that Blood Demon would not say anything at this moment. Could there be something wrong? "Young master, your expression was too serious just now." After pausing for a while, Blood Demon continued, "According to my guess, both the Yun family and the Ling family will follow us." Just as Blood Demon finished speaking, Yi Han had already seen the group of people not far away. His face changed again and again. He said, "It seems that I'm too anxious. Blood Demon, what should we do now?" "Pretend that nothing is wrong. Even if it's them, they can't keep following us." "All right." At this moment, Ling Ruoyi, Yun Shi, and the rest had already arrived quickly. Yi Han smiled and said, "Both of you, I've already said that if you want to obtain the inheritance, you have to rely on your own abilities and fate. Both of you have been following me. Isn't it a bit too much? Could it be that both of you have taken a liking to me?" Yi Han's face was full of confidence. It was as if both of them had taken a liking to him. Chapter 2847. Despicable. Ling Ruoyi scolded him. She wanted to teach Yi Han a lesson if the situation did not allow her to do so. Yi Han did not care about it. "When I get the Deity King's inheritance, I will make you submit to me." Yun Shi smiled and said, "Yi Han, you and I know whether you are guilty or not. Give us the original map and we will let you go. Otherwise, we will fight you." Yun Shi is right. We are already in the land of inheritance. The map is useless to you. Why don't you give it to us? Give it to us. What a joke. Yi Han sneered in his heart. He knew better than anyone how important the map was to him. The map was the key to getting the inheritance. If he gave it to us, he would not be able to get the inheritance. Then, the Yi family would be in a passive position. You said it just now. We are already in the land of inheritance. The map is useless to you and me. Since it is useless, why should I give it to you? The more Yi Han acted like this, the more Yun Shi and Ling Ruoyi thought that he was guilty. The map. There was something fishy about the map. "Let's go." Before they left, Yi Han said coldly, "If you want the map, we will fight. We will not know who will survive, let alone get the inheritance." It would be a lie to say that he was not worried. If it was just one family, Yi Han wouldn't care at all because he knew very well that no one was willing to risk their lives for something meaningless, let alone in this kind of situation. But now, the situation was different. If the Yun family and the Ling family joined forces, even he would not be able to stop them. But Yi Han was betting that the two families would not join forces. Even if there was a fight, he would not give the map away. For the sake of the Deity King's inheritance, he would not hesitate to risk his life. Both the Yun family and the Ling family stared at Yi Han, who turned around and left. Fight? Or not? If they were on the same side, they would definitely fight. But now, Yun Shi and Ling Ruoyi did not trust each other. After all, they both wanted to get the inheritance. If someone stabbed them in the back, they would not even have the chance to regret. How should they choose? "Longao, what should we do now?" "Act alone. Don't fight for the map." "Sure." Cloud Emperor and the others were curious to hear that the young mistress actually listened to Longao's suggestion. They wanted to ask, but they held back. They didn't know what was wrong with the young mistress. Why would she listen to Longao for no reason? Not to mention the others, even Longao was a little curious. "Yunshi, are you going to give up so easily?" Ling Ruoyi was shocked when she saw that Yunshi was about to leave. Since she had guessed that Yi Han was up to something, she should chase after him. Even if they did not fight, she should follow him. However, Yunshi's actions seemed a little strange. She did not say anything else and quickly left with everyone. Ling Ruoyi was completely confused. She did not know what Yi Han and she meant. Could it be that Yi Han and she had reached an agreement? That shouldn't be possible. Tell me, what's going on? Tian Dao thought for a while and said, Young mistress, according to my guess, the original map in Yi Han's hands can definitely lead to the inheritance. As for the Yun family, I believe they have some confidence too. So, our priority now is to choose a family and follow them closely. Ling Ruoyi nodded in agreement and said, That makes sense. Then, who do you think we should choose? Yi Han. Tian Dao said without hesitation. Because Yi Han had the original map, he had a higher chance of finding the inheritance. Ling Ruoyi did not hesitate and immediately led everyone to chase after Yi Han. In the distance, Shi asked while walking, Longao, what do you think? Shi also did not know what was going on with her. Why did she choose to believe Longao out of the blue? Perhaps it was because of the matter with the Thunderfire Lion. She was very clear in her heart that the original map in Yi Han's hands was very likely to find the inheritance. If she chose to give up, then once Yi Han found the inheritance, she would not even have the chance to regret it. Cloud Emperor and the others also wanted to know what Longao meant by suddenly choosing to act alone. Just as you guessed, Yi Han must think that the map in his hands can lead to the inheritance. She just nodded and did not say anything. But I can say that it's basically impossible for Yi Han to find the inheritance with the map in his hands. The inheritance is not that simple. Evidence. No evidence. Just my intuition. Intuition? Was it just a simple intuition? Hearing Longao's explanation, Emperor Yun and the others felt extremely helpless. She nodded and said helplessly, I believe you. Actually, whether we can find the inheritance or not depends on fate and not strength. The treasures will be obtained by those who are fated. If we are fated to obtain the inheritance, then the inheritance this time will definitely be ours. Treasures belong to those who are fated. Everyone knew that she was comforting herself. Even if she could not get the inheritance in the end, she would not blame herself too much. However, no one would not be tempted by the inheritance. Let's go. Let's walk around and try our luck. Maybe we can find the inheritance if we are lucky. Luck. Cloud Emperor and the others shrugged their shoulders helplessly and followed Shi to the southeast direction. On the other hand, Ling Ruoyi was following Yi Han closely. No matter what happened, Ling Ruoyi was sure that the map in Yi Han's hands could lead to the inheritance. Yi Han was also helpless. After all, Ling Ruoyi was at the peak of the lower deity realm. She was comparable to him in terms of strength and speed. He could not go on like this. Before he could get rid of Ling Ruoyi completely, he could not look for the inheritance. Otherwise, once he found the inheritance, he would not know if he could get it. Yi Han stopped and looked at Ling Ruoyi and the others who were following him. He said helplessly, Ruoyi, I know you like me. But let's talk about this when we go back to Chenkuan City. Don't follow me now. I have something urgent to do. Page, hand over the original map and we will go our separate ways. Otherwise, even if I can't get the inheritance, you can forget about it too. We can go our separate ways. Ling Ruoyi was very determined. Since she could not get the inheritance, he could not get it either. Yi Han knew Ling Ruoyi's character too well. If that was the case, he would be in big trouble. Chapter 2848. Hand over the original map. That was just a dream. If it was something else, Yi Han would give it to the person he loved. But the original map was more important to Yi Han than his own life. Even if Ling Ruoyi was standing in front of him, he would still be dreaming. Only the original map could help him find the inheritance. She smiled. Yi Han stared at Ling Ruoyi in front of him. The more he looked at her, the more he liked her. He wanted to do her immediately. Ruoyi, to be honest, the map in my hand can help me find the inheritance of the deity king. What did the young lord mean? Blood Demon and the others were curious. They did not know what Yi Han was up to. Why did he tell Ling Ruoyi all of a sudden? Ling Ruoyi's eyes lit up. Indeed, it seemed that Yi Han was very confident. What is your condition? There was no free lunch in the world. Ling Ruoyi knew that very well. But she had decided that she would get the inheritance of the deity king no matter what the price was. The inheritance of the deity king was too important to her and her family. Great. Yi Han smiled and said, Ruoyi, you should know how I have treated you all these years. Ling Ruoyi did not say anything. Because she did not know what Yi Han was trying to say. Ha ha ha, Ruoyi, my condition is simple. As long as you become my partner, give yourself to me and swear that you will never betray me, I will fulfill your wish. What do you think? Ling Ruoyi was not a fool. She knew what Yi Han meant. She looked gloomy. Ling Xiu was furious. Yi Han, who do you think you are? How dare you? Ling Ruoyi waved her hand and stopped Ling Xiu from continuing. Yi Han did not say anything. He just smiled and looked at Ling Ruoyi. Yi Han wanted to know what Ling Ruoyi would choose between the inheritance of the deity king and him. Yi Han had decided that as long as Ling Ruoyi agreed, he would kill her immediately. As for whether he would give her the inheritance of the deity king, that was another matter. Her expression changed again. Ling Ruoyi clenched her fists and said coldly, Yi Han, is what you said true? Ruoyi, I know what you're worried about. You're my woman and you've made a soul-pledging oath. So what if I give it to you? Ling Ruoyi's attitude had changed. No matter what, the inheritance of the divine king was too important. If he could obtain the inheritance of the divine king, then both he and his family would have a qualitative leap. What should he do? Ruoyi, my patience is limited. You better hurry up. Ling Xiu and Ling Cheng were anxious. They did not know what they should do if Ling Ruoyi agreed. If that was the case, so what if Ling Ruoyi got the deity king's inheritance? By then, Ling Ruoyi would be Yi Han's woman. It would be equivalent to Yi Han receiving the inheritance of the divine king. What should we do? Once Ling Ruoyi agrees, we will kill her immediately. Sigh, since things have come to this is the only way. The two of them had no other choice. After all, they could not allow such a thing to happen. Otherwise, not only would the Ling family lose face, they would also lose the deity king's inheritance. Yi Han, if I kill you, do you think that you can still get the inheritance of the deity king? Without any fear, Yi Han's face suddenly turned cold. He said coldly, Ling Ruoyi, you better stop being impulsive. If you provoke me, not only will you not get the inheritance of the deity king, you will also die here. Both of them had their own plans. Because both of them knew clearly that under such circumstances, they could not act casually unless they had no other choice. Otherwise, if anything went wrong, the consequences would be unimaginable. This time, they had entered the starry sky and risked their own lives in order to get the inheritance of the deity king. Everything was for the sake of the inheritance of the deity king. Ling Ruoyi suppressed the anger in her heart and said coldly, with me around, I would like to see if you can get the inheritance of the deity king. Ling Ruoyi was very confident in her own strength. If she were to fight with a peak lower god, Yi Han might not be able to defeat her. Since Ling Ruoyi was unwilling, Yi Han did not continue to stay. He immediately turned around and left with his people. He would not hesitate to fight. Want to snatch my map? Don't even think about it. In a secluded place. Looking at the map in his hand, Yi Han said helplessly, I have studied it countless times. There is no mark on the map that can help me find the inheritance of the deity king. Blood demon, come and take a look. Yi Han was very anxious. After all, he would not be able to rest if he could not find the inheritance of the deity king. Who knew if the other two families would be lucky enough to get the inheritance of the deity king? Let me take a look. Blood Demon told Yi Han that the original complete map could help him find the inheritance of the deity king. If he could not find it, Blood Demon was very clear about his situation. Blood Demon looked at the map in front of him carefully and his face was very serious. After half an hour, he said, Young master, I can almost say that the map in our hands can help you to get the inheritance of the deity king. As for how to open it, I have no idea. Yi Han also knew that things could not be rushed. However, under such circumstances, It would be a lie if he said that he was not anxious. After all, there was only one inheritance of the Deity King. Whoever got it first would be able to become the Deity King in the future. Blood Demon, what should we do now? Yihan did not know what to do now. The land of inheritance was boundless. Even his primordial spirit could not cover the entire land of inheritance. If they continued to search like this, it would be too difficult to find the inheritance of the Deity King. Young master, other than being cautious of others, the most important thing is to think of a way to open the map. As for the Yun and Ling families, without the map, I believe that they will not be able to find the inheritance of the Deity King. Nodding his head, Yihan was very confident about this. As long as he had the map in his hands, he believed that no matter if it was the Yun or Ling family, they would not be able to get the inheritance of the Deity King. Not far away, Ling Ruori did not care about anything else. No matter what happened, she would stay by Yihan's side. Because from Ling Ruori's point of view, since Yihan was so confident, he might be able to find the inheritance of the Deity King. At that time, she would be able to benefit from it. Ling Ruori was not that stupid. If both sides were to suffer great losses, it would benefit the Yun family. Chapter 2849. Yun Shi and the rest were still searching for the inheritance. The land of inheritance is boundless. We don't even have a clue. This is really troublesome. Not just Yun Shi, even Emperor Yun and the rest were a little depressed. Longao, what do you think about this? Emperor Yun and the rest were curious. They did not know what was going on with Miss. Why would she ask Longao for no reason? Not only would it happen once, but it would happen again and again. Although they were curious, Emperor Yun and the rest did not say much. Let me think about it. Although I have some guesses, I'm not sure. Yun Shi nodded and suddenly asked, Longao, do you know my Yun family? She was curious. Longao did not know what the other party meant by asking this question. Sister Yun, if you have something to say, just say it. There was a hidden meaning in his words. Yun Shi thought for a moment and said with a smile, although my Yun family is nothing in the entire Blackstone region, in Chenkuan City, we are one of the 3 major families. Longao did not say anything and just listened quietly. As for Emperor Yun and the rest, they had already vaguely guessed something. Now that you have refined the Chaos Tablet, in less than 3 years, you will definitely be able to control the Chaos power in the tablet. When you go to the Chaos Realm, who knows where you will be sent? To go alone in the Chaos Realm, forgive me for being blunt, but it is very difficult. How could Longao not know the situation in the Chaos Realm? However, he had no regrets. Even though he clearly knew that the Chaos Realm was filled with dangers, he still insisted on going to the Chaos Realm because only by establishing his own territory in the Chaos Realm could his family avoid danger when they went to the Chaos Realm in the future. Longao, although you and Chen are already together, it's still unknown whether the family will agree to it or not. Let me tell you the truth, Chen talent is very high. Once Chen is sent back to the family, she will definitely be fully cultivated. At that time, it's not impossible for her to become a mid-god. Middle god? How could Longao not know what Yun Shi meant? She was officially recruiting him. Agree. Or reject. Of course, Longao knew that if he refused, even if Yun Shi could, he believed that after Chenna returned to the Yun family would interfere. However, he really didn't want to join the Yun family. Looking at the expression on Longao's face, Yun Shi already knew what he was thinking. He smiled. With regards to Longao, Yun Shi had a very good impression of him and also had sufficient patience. If it were anyone else, Yun Shi would have given up long ago. But one had to know. As long as the Yun family extended an olive branch, no matter who it was, they would be eager to join the Yun family. Even if the Yun clan was nothing in the entire Blackstone Heavenly region, it was still one of the 3 great clans in Chenkuan City. Longao, even if you join the Yun family, it won't do you any harm. You can go anywhere you want, but if the Yun family is in trouble, you just have to help. What do you think? So that was the case. Since Yun Shi had already said so much, Longao knew that he had no reason to refuse. Sister Yun, When I go to the Chaos Realm in the future. Before Longao could finish, Yunshi said, Longao, I just said that if it's just you alone, not to mention whether it's dangerous to enter the Chaos Realm, you don't even know where you'll be sent to. You mean, you want me to leave the galaxy with you? That's right. Anyway, you've already refined the Chaos Stone Tablet in your body. If nothing goes wrong, you'll definitely be able to control the Chaos Force within 3 years. And whether we can get the inheritance or not, I'll wait for you for 3 years. When the time comes, we'll leave together. Ah! Emperor Yun and the others were shocked. They knew very well what Miss meant. They never thought that Miss would value Longao so much. In order to recruit Longao, she was willing to wait for 3 years. I can't leave. If he was alone, it would be fine. But he had a family. If he left and the clairvoyant master and the others came to cause trouble, what would his family do? Of course, Yunshi knew what Longao was thinking. She smiled and said, Emperor Yun, tell Longao what's going on. He was curious. Yunshi's attitude seemed a little strange. What was going on? Emperor Yun immediately said, Longao, I wanted to tell you before, but I forgot because of the Divine King's inheritance. Not long ago, the clairvoyant master left the vast galaxy with Yi Dugu. Ah! Hearing Emperor Yun's words, Longao was completely shocked. Because whether it was the clairvoyant master or Yi Dugu, they had not broken through half a lower god. How could they enter the Chaos Realm through the Chaos Entrance? Yunshi and Emperor Yun had said before that if anyone who did not control the Chaos Force tried to force their way into the Chaos Channel, they would definitely die. How could the clairvoyant master and Yi Dugu enter the Chaos Realm? Longao, let alone you. Even I did not expect that the clairvoyant master had been hiding his strength all this time. As for what his strength is, we still don't know, but he should be at least at the peak of the lower god realm. Longao understood what Emperor Yun meant. It seemed that the clairvoyant master had used a secret method to suppress his strength and stay in this galaxy. But what Longao could not figure out was why the clairvoyant master would do that. He could not figure it out, really could not figure it out. Longao, you have known the clairvoyant master for so many years. Do you know why the clairvoyant master wants to stay here? I don't know. Longao really didn't know why the divine mathematician had stayed here, and why the divine mathematician had suddenly chosen to leave. All of this was a mystery. If one wanted to know the reason, perhaps only the divine mathematician himself would be able to find out. Longao's face became more and more serious. Since leaving Redfire Town, only 2 people had made him feel a little unfathomable. One was Nangong Yin, and the other was the clairvoyant master. Especially after such a thing happened, he did not know why, but he always felt that this matter was not so simple. Yunshi sighed deeply and said helplessly, I really did not expect that in this small galaxy, there would be such a person. It seems that this person is not simple. Yunshi and the others obviously did not want to continue arguing. No matter who the clairvoyant master was, it did not seem to have anything to do with them. Once they found the Divine King's inheritance, they would leave this galaxy, and the clairvoyant master and Nangong Yin had already left. But Longao's heart could not let go. Why did the clairvoyant master suddenly want to leave this galaxy? Longao, let's put the clairvoyant master's matter aside for now. Once you enter the Chaos Realm, your family can dominate this galaxy. I will leave Yun He and Yun Tian behind. What do you think? Chapter 2850. Since the words had already been said to this extent, Longao did not want to continue to refuse. He nodded and agreed. Longao had thought about this. After he left, he believed that Long Ming and the rest would leave with him. With Yun He and Yun Tian guarding the family, unless a lower god came, his family would be fine. He had to go to the chaotic realm as soon as possible and fight for his own sky. Only then could his family have a better life in the chaotic realm. He was overjoyed. While everyone was resting, Emperor Yun and Yun Shi walked to the side. Emperor Yun asked curiously, Young mistress, what do you mean? Emperor Yun admired Longao's talent and strength. However, it was not enough for the Yun family. Even if young mistress wanted to rope in Longao, she might not be able to offer too much. Emperor Yun wanted to ask, was it worth it? How could Yun she not know what Emperor Yun meant? This person is not simple. I have high hopes for him. It was that simple. Yun she was the eldest daughter of the Yun family head. Whether it was talent or strength, or status in the Yun family, she was superior. Since Yun she had decided, Longao would be able to rise to the top after joining the Yun family. He was envious. However, Emperor Yun sincerely hoped that Longao would get better and better. After all, Longao and his granddaughter would be together in the future. 2 hours later. Sister Yun, I finally found the crux of the matter. Tell me about it. Yun she could not wait any longer. Since entering the land of inheritance, 3 months had passed unknowingly. If this continued, who knew when it would end? Not only Yun she, but even Emperor Yun and the other 3 could not wait. He shrugged his shoulders helplessly. Everyone, I did not find the Supreme Being's inheritance. However, I found a very important problem. After thinking about it, if I'm not wrong, we did not enter the real land of inheritance. Ah! What did that mean? Yun Lu's face was solemn. He said, Longao, what do you mean? They had already collected 3 drops of spiritual beast blood essence and successfully entered the passage. Why did they not enter the land of inheritance? They had no idea what was going on. This is also my guess. It's not easy to get the Supreme Being's inheritance. Guessing. It was just a guess. However, Yun Shi and the others believed in Longao's guess. Longao, what should we do now? He thought for a moment. Longao looked around and said, Sister Yun, what kind of power does the Divine King have? Although she did not know why Longao asked such a question, Yun Shi still explained, the God King controls the power of space. The power of space. Of course, Longao knew that the spatial energy Yun Shi spoke of was not the spatial energy that the starry sky possessed. The two could not be compared at all. All of you, carefully sense the surroundings. Yun Shi and the others immediately started sensing carefully. But at that moment, Cloud Emperor suddenly stood up and looked into the distance. He said, Yihan found the place of inheritance. Yihan. Longao and the others immediately got up and rushed forward at their maximum speed. Just as Emperor Yun had guessed. Through the efforts of Blood Demon and Yihan, the map had integrated with the power of space and truly showed the place of inheritance. Yihan, Yun Shi, Ling Ruori, and the others looked at the map above them. They did not know what was going on because the map had already integrated with the space around it. Next, a white figure slowly gathered. It was the white figure that had appeared in the tunnel earlier on. He was also the owner of this place. The inheritance test has officially begun. No matter who it is, everyone will have a fair chance. I hope that someone among you can make it to the end and obtain my inheritance. Oh right, I forgot to tell everyone my name. The white figure exuded an unparalleled fighting spirit, giving off a domineering aura that looked down on the world. My name is Shenyuan Bubai. Shenyuan Bubai? Longao had never heard of Shenyuan Bubai. However, since he was able to become a divine king, he could imagine how powerful Shenyuan Bubai was. According to Yun Shi, a divine king was a powerful existence comparable to the lower heaven region's domain lord. As the white figure disappeared, Yun Shi and the others were completely stunned. Their faces were as shocked as they could be. Shenyuan Bubai. So, it's the inheritance of senior Shenyuan. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Yihan laughed out maniacally. He was not the only one. Even Yun Shi, Ling Ruori, and the others were in a state of excitement. That was the reason why Longao was curious. He did not know what was going on with these people. Sister Yun, do you guys know this Shenyuan Bubai? Everyone who came here knew about the inheritance of the Supreme Being. This was a little too different. Could this Shenyuan Bubai be famous in the Chaos world? Yun Shi suppressed the excitement in her heart and said softly, Longao, you have not been to the Chaos world before. That's why you don't know much about it. This senior Shenyuan Bubai is an extremely famous supreme being in the Chaos world. People call him the War Emperor. War Emperor? What a domineering name. No wonder everyone was so excited. So, Shenyuan Bubai was a famous person in the chaos world. How could she not know what Longao was thinking? She continued, Longao, all of us had thought that the inheritance here came from a supreme being. But, to think that it was the inheritance of senior Shenyuan Bubai. Do you know the strength of senior Shenyuan Bubai? Shaking his head, Longao did not know. Hold on. Since Shenyuan Bubai was not a supreme being, wouldn't he be a supreme being then? She had mentioned earlier on that in the 99 heavens of the chaos world, the domain masters of the 33 lower heavens were all supreme beings. Only the domain masters of the 33 middle heavens were the so-called supreme beings. If that were the case, Longao knew better than anyone else what the inheritance of Shenyuan Bubai meant. That was why everyone was so excited. The inheritance of a supreme being was incomparable to the inheritance of a supreme being. If one could obtain the inheritance of a supreme being and become a supreme being in the end, he would be able to do whatever he wanted in the 33 middle heavens, not to mention the 33 lower heavens. Not to mention the others, even Longao himself wanted to obtain the inheritance of Shenyuan Bubai. Whether it was Yi Han or Ling Ruori, both of them were staring at the map in front of them. In order to obtain the inheritance of the Divine Emperor, it was worth it even if they were to die. The inheritance test has begun. A voice came from nowhere. Before everyone could react, the surrounding environment had changed rapidly. The map that was still there had completely disappeared. However, everyone knew that the real inheritance test had begun. Chapter 2851. What is this place? The surroundings were like palaces, eerie and creepy. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo boo-hoo, boo-hoo boo-hoo. Boo-hoo sounds came from all around, sounding extremely creepy. Even Ling Ruori and the others could not help but shiver. If you wish to obtain the legacy of Shenyuan Bubai, you will have to pass through 3 trials. However, each trial has a corresponding reward. Whoever makes it to the 3rd trial and passes it successfully will be able to obtain my legacy. Good luck to all of you. 3 trials. Everyone knew clearly that the first trial had begun. Suddenly, the information regarding the first trial popped up in their minds. Let's go. Everyone knew the entrance to the 2nd palace. They had to make their way there as fast as they could. Right now, they were in the 1st palace. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo boo-hoo. Boo-hoo boo-hoo, as everyone increased their speed, the sounds coming from all around were getting creepier. Watch out. Pshoo, pshoo, pshoo. Just then, countless green flames appeared all around them, and the boo-hoo sounds came from none other than these green flames. What are these? Looking at the green flames, Yunshi's face changed. She said in horror, these are god-slaying bugs. They can devour the essence blood and essence of martial artist. God-slaying bugs. Just the name alone was enough to send shivers down one's spine. Even though everyone had guessed that it would not be an easy task to pass through the 3 trials, they had not expected to encounter such horrifying god-slaying bugs right at the beginning. Even though Yi Han and Ling Ruori had not seen the god-slaying bugs with their own eyes, they had heard of their horror. One of them retreated in fear. Retreat. If they wanted to pass through the trials, they had to move forward. Against these countless god-slaying bugs, it was easy to think about it. But in reality, it was easier said than done. Yunshi and the others took out their own legendary weapons and defended against the god-slaying bugs with all their might. Move forward. They had to move forward. For the sake of obtaining the legacy of the God Emperor, it was worth it even if they had to die. Furthermore, this was the legacy of Shenyuan Bubai. Shenyuan Bubai was known as the Battle Emperor. His strength was unquestionable. If they could obtain the legacy of Shenyuan Bubai, they would be able to dominate the 33 lower heavens and even the 33 middle heavens. Calm down. At times like this, one had to remain calm. Longao was much calmer than anyone else. Longao knew very well that if Shenyuan Bubai wanted to kill them, he could do it in a matter of minutes. Unless Shenyuan Bubai did not want anyone to obtain his legacy. The palace passageway stretched as far as the eye could see. Every 100 meters, a stone statue would appear. The god-slaying bugstone sculpture. If not for careful observation, it would have been hard to notice. Longao was shocked. It seemed that the mystery lay within these so-called stone sculptures. He didn't dare to hesitate in the slightest. He took a step forward and arrived in front of the nearest stone sculpture. He began to carefully examine it. Seeing Longao suddenly leave, Yunxi and the others were very anxious. They shouted in understanding, "Longao, don't leave me. Otherwise, you'll die a terrible death." Hearing Yunxi's worry, Longao's impression of Yunxi became even better. No matter what, Yunxi was a good person. "Sister Yun, come over quickly." Yunxi didn't know what was wrong with her. Why did she choose to believe Longao in everything, including this time? When she heard Longao's voice, her intuition told her that Longao might have found a way to deal with the god-slaying bugs. Yunxi and the others did not hesitate. They all rushed towards Longao's direction. Yun He, Yun Tian, Yun Lu, and Emperor Yun attacked from the 4 cardinal directions. According to Yunxi, one god-slaying bug was not scary. Once one was devoured by hundreds of god-slaying bugs at the same time, even a mid-god would die. I studied these stone sculptures just now. They're all god-slaying bug stone sculptures. According to my guess, if we want to pass through smoothly, we'll have to use these stone sculptures. Stone sculptures. Yunxi and the others attacked the god-slaying bugs while looking at the stone sculptures. No matter how they looked, they could not find anything. "Ah, save me. Lord, save me." At this moment, a heart-wrenching cry of pain was heard from Ling Ruori's camp. It was none other than Luo Mu. Among all of them, Luo Mu was the weakest. Moreover, Ling Ruori did not take Luo Mu and the others seriously. Otherwise, Luo Mu would not have been devoured by the god-slaying bugs so quickly. In just a few seconds, Luo Mu had been completely devoured by hundreds of god-slaying insects. Seeing this situation, everyone gasped. It was really overbearing. The more it was like this, the more cautious everyone became. After all, Luo Mu was a lesson to them. No one was willing to die here, let alone in such a way. Seeing Luo Mu being devoured by the god-slaying bugs, Longao sighed. Although Luo Mu was not willing to help him, he was still half a friend to him. He did not want to see Luo Mu die here. However, there was no other way. This was the cruelty of reality. "Longao, quick." Yunxi seemed to be able to read Longao's mind and immediately urged him. At this moment of life and death, Longao still had the time to sigh. If this continued, not to mention Luo Mu, even they would die here. Yes. Longao was very glad that he did not invite Shen Tong along this time. Otherwise, with Shen Tong's strength, it was unknown whether he could leave the land of inheritance alive. Even including them, no one dared to say that they could leave alive. "Each of you go and carry a stone sculpture. Then we'll be fine." "Ah!" Yunxi and the others never thought that this was the solution that Longao was talking about. If they carried the stone sculptures and could not free themselves to deal with the god-slaying bugs, they would not even know how they died. Longao did not care about this. At this moment of life and death, he did not want to die here. He immediately carried the stone sculpture in front of him and rushed forward. His speed increased to the extreme because this was also his guess. However, Longao had always believed in his intuition. "Miss, what should we do now?" Yun Di and the others did not believe Longao. After all, Longao's strength was there for all to see. If he could not do it, then they would be in a very passive position. Yunxi looked at Longao, who had already left quickly. She gritted her teeth and said, "Follow Longao's instructions. Everyone immediately look for the stone sculptures. Remember, no one is to be left behind." Yun Di and the others could not believe Longao, but they could not go against Yunxi's wishes. Especially in this situation, time was of the essence. Chapter 2852. Ling Ruori and Yi Han looked at the actions of Yunxi and the rest. They were curious. What was the meaning of this? Soon. No matter if it was Yi Han or Ling Ruori, they both realized that something was wrong. Stone sculptures. Even Yunxi and the rest did not expect this. As they carried the stone sculptures, the the god-slaying bugs did not dare to get close to them. Looking at Longao, who was walking in front, Yunshi was glad that she made the decision. Longao was not a simple person. A few minutes later, everyone carried a stone sculpture and moved forward quickly. Only one Luo Mu died. It was Luo Mu's bad luck. After walking for about 10 minutes, the god-slaying bugs around them started to reduce gradually and disappeared completely. However, everyone was still scared. If not for the stone sculptures, they believed that they could only hold on for a few hours. Everyone shuddered at the thought of how the fallen tree had been devoured. The god-slaying bugs were really terrifying. Longao put the stone sculptures aside gently and let out a long sigh of relief. Longao, thanks to you this time. Otherwise, we would not be able to leave here alive. Longao waved his hand and said with a smile, I was just guessing. It's best if we can leave here alive. Let's not waste time. Let's go and pass the next test as soon as possible. Okay. Yunshi's attitude changed again. However, Yunshi did not notice it. Yi Han, Ling Ruori, and the rest also escaped successfully. Although they did not say anything, they were very angry. No one had thought of this method except for Longao. Yi Han had the intention to kill. If Longao continued like this, he might really help the Yun family to get the inheritance. The inheritance was his and no one could take it away. He did as he thought. Yunshi, wait. Yunshi and the rest turned around and saw Yi Han, Ling Ruori, and the rest. They did not know why Yi Han stopped them. After all, the three families had an agreement. Once they entered the land of inheritance, they would obtain the inheritance with their own abilities. What's the matter? Yunshi's voice was very cold, and there was a kind of indifference that kept people 1,000 miles away from her. Yunshi was not as beautiful as Ling Ruori. However, everyone knew that Yunshi already had a fiancé. She was also very powerful and talented. Yi Han knew his own limitations. That was why Yi Han did not pursue Yunshi. Instead, he pursued Ling Ruori. Leave this person behind and you can leave. Seeing Yi Han pointing at Longao beside her, Yunshi's face instantly darkened. Ling Ruori had guessed what Yi Han meant, but she did not say anything. If they could kill Longao, it would be a very good thing for the Ling clan. After all, Longao was not a simple person to be able to discover the secret of the stone sculpture. What a shameless Yi Han. Longao was not a fool. Of course, he knew what Yi Han meant. He was afraid that he would help Yunshi obtain the inheritance. Yunshi, you won't risk your life for him, right? Yi Han was certain that Yunshi would not dare to make a move, especially under such circumstances. Yi Han was almost certain that once she made a move, even if Ling Ruori was not willing, she would definitely form an alliance with him temporarily to deal with Yunshi. Yunshi knew what Yi Han and Ling Ruori were thinking. She was very angry. Yi Han, don't even think about making Longao stay. If you want to fight, then let's fight. If not, you better get lost. I don't have time to play with you. Longao was very touched. Luo Mu was a good example. Because they were nothing in the eyes of the three big families. They could be sacrificed at any time. Only Yunshi was a good person. It was not a waste for him to accompany the Yun family and risk his life to come here. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Yi Han suddenly laughed crazily and said, if you want to fight, then let's fight. Yunshi, I will kill him in front of you today. I would like to see how you are going to make me get lost. Ruori, are you willing to help? Sure. Ling Ruori did not even think about it and agreed directly. In this world, there were no eternal enemies and no eternal friends. Yi Han and Ling Ruori were not easy to deal with. Moreover, Emperor Yun and Yun Lu had stayed here for too long. They were not as powerful as before. If they were to fight to the death, their chances of winning were less than 10%. No matter if it was Yi Han or Ling Ruori, they were not willing to fight to the death with Yunshi unless they had no other choice. After all, their main purpose this time was to get the inheritance, not to kill Yunshi. But Longao must die. Ling Ruori said coldly, Yunshi, it's just Longao. I can guarantee that as long as you leave alone, we will not be enemies with you. What do you think? Ling Ruori and Yi Han both took a step forward. Their intentions were very clear. If Yunshi did not agree, they would not hesitate to attack. They were very confident. If they were to fight Yunshi alone, they might not be able to win. But if they were to attack together, they were 100% confident. Yunshi's face was very ugly. She said with a murderous look, "Even if I die today, I will not let you go as you wish." At this moment, Longao, who had been silent all this while, suddenly said, "Sister Yun, since they want to kill me, it is between me and them. It has nothing to do with the Yun family. You should leave as soon as possible. The inheritance is more important." Arrogant. Yi Han and Ling Ruori were a little angry. Longao did not seem to care about them. An ant who had not even mastered the power of chaos dared to be arrogant in front of them. He really did not know what was good for him. "Longao, am I so insignificant in your eyes?" "This." "Humph." Yunshi coldly snorted heavily and said resolutely, "You are already a member of my Yun family. No matter what happens, I will ensure your safety. Not to mention those two, even if a mid-god were to come here, I, Yunshi, would not take half a step back." Longao stared at Yunshi in front of him. He seemed to want to say something, but in the end, he did not say anything. When Yi Han and Ling Ruori heard what Yunshi had said, their faces turned gloomy. Their faces were as ugly as they could get. They thought that Yunshi would not go against them because of a nobody. They did not expect that Yunshi would insist on doing so. Did Yunshi really think that she could defeat the two of them alone? Just when the two of them were thinking about whether they should attack, Yunshi suddenly attacked. Her palms were like two knives, slashing towards Yi Han and Ling Ruori. As for Emperor Yun and the others, they did not hold back. Since it was already like this, they could just fight. Chapter 2853. Yi Han and Ling Ruori did not expect that Yunshi would attack them. They were almost hit by Yunshi. "Yunshi, you are courting death." "We don't know who is courting death." Longao saw that Yunshi and the others had attacked him. It would be unkind of him if he did not do anything. Longao did not look for others. Instead, he attacked the two of them directly. Both Yi Han and Ling Ruori were furious when they saw that Longao dared to attack them. "You are courting death." Ling Ruori turned her hand and hit Longao with her palm. After the hit, Longao's body flew out like a kite with a broken string. She pushed Longao back with her palm. She stopped Longao with her fastest speed and asked worriedly, "How are you?" "I am fine." Longao had the immortal primordial spirit. It was impossible for him to die. Even so, he was still shocked. A peak lower god was indeed powerful. She had hit him with all her strength. His opponent had just hit her casually and almost killed her. If it were someone else, they would have been dead by now. He was not dead. Seeing that Longao was still alive, Ling Ruori was very surprised. She was very confident in her own power. An ant who had not even reached the level of a lower god could actually withstand her palm. Was this real? Not only Ling Ruori, even Yi Han did not expect that Longao could take Ling Ruori's hit. The more it was so, the more he wanted to kill Longao. He must kill this person. "Yunshi, let me give you a piece of advice. You better leave. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude." "You can try." Both parties were in a stalemate. No one was willing to attack first. Yunshi did not care about the two of them. She pulled Longao up and quickly left. Emperor Yun and the others did not hesitate and quickly followed. They were not willing to fight with the Yi family and the Ling family, especially under such circumstances. Yi Han finally chose to give up when he saw that the crowd was about to disappear. Although he and Ling Ruori could suppress Yunshi together, even if they could kill Yunshi, it would not be worth it if they were killed. "What do you think? Let's find a chance to get rid of this man later. Ruori, let's work together for the time being. As for the inheritance, we'll see what we can do after we get rid of the Yun family. What do you say?" "No problem." Of course, Ling Ruori did not want to fight to the death with Yunshi. It would be a great loss if all of them died here. A small interlude. Everyone continued on their way. According to the information in their minds, the first layer of the palace was very big. If they wanted to reach the entrance, they would encounter countless dangers. If the first trial was already so terrifying, one could only imagine what the second and third trials would be like. The inheritance of the Divine Emperor, and the inheritance of Shenyuan Bubai. At the thought of obtaining the Battle Emperor's inheritance, they didn't even care about their own lives. Bridge of Life and Death. Unknowingly, they had already arrived in front of a pair of bridges, one on the left and one on the right. The left bridge was the Life Bridge, and the right bridge was the Death Bridge. If he wanted to rush to the entrance, he would have to cross the Bridge of Life and Death. There was no need to guess. Everyone could guess that the Life and Death Bridge in front of them was not simple. They wondered how many of them would die here. Longao, should we choose the Life Bridge or the Death Bridge? Yi Han and Ling Ruori walked over. At this moment, the two of them were very surprised. It seemed that Longao knew about the land of inheritance very well. If they didn't know that Longao had never been here before, they would have thought that Longao had already passed through the land of inheritance. Besides that, there was still one thing that the two of them could not figure out, and that was that no matter what Yunxi did, she had to ask Longao first. It seemed that the one in charge of the Yun family was not Yunxi, but this weak Longao. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they would have found it hard to believe. Yi Han and Ling Ruori didn't know how to choose. If they made the wrong choice, they might not even be able to leave the Life and Death Bridge alive. The two of them had no clue about the Life and Death Bridge in front of them. Longao shook his head. His meaning was very clear. Yunxi sighed. Without full confidence, no one was willing to try. After all, they only had one chance. If they missed it, they might lose their lives. No one was willing to joke about their lives. Yi Han and Ling Ruori confirmed again and again that Longao really didn't know how to choose. At this moment, Longao said softly, "Sister Yun, no matter which bridge Yi Han and Ling Ruori choose, we won't make a move." But why? Yunxi was very curious. If they wanted to go to the entrance of the first palace, they had to cross the Life and Death Bridge. If they didn't choose the Life Bridge or the Death Bridge, would they be able to cross it? "We won't choose the Life and Death Bridge. If I'm not wrong, no matter if we choose the Life Bridge or the Death Bridge, I'm afraid we'll die. Even if we can cross it, there will be fewer people." Longao's meaning was very clear. Even if Yunxi was a fool, she would understand. Yunxi nodded and said, "All right, I'll listen to you." At this moment, Ling Ruori suddenly asked, "Yunxi, do you want to choose the Life Bridge or the Death Bridge?" Yunxi didn't know what Ling Ruori meant. She just snorted and said coldly, "It doesn't seem to have anything to do with you whether I choose the Life Bridge or the Death Bridge." Ling Ruori didn't care at all. As for Yi Han, he didn't have a choice. Because at this moment, Blood Demon suddenly said, "Young master, something is wrong with Longao. I know him very well. He's not a simple person. Why don't we choose the last one and let Yunxi and the others go first? This way, we'll have a plan even if we encounter danger." "All right." Seeing that Yi Han didn't plan to choose, Ling Ruori knew what Yi Han meant. She also stood there and didn't say anything. Yunxi was very angry. She knew how shameless Yi Han and Ling Ruori were. If she didn't go first, she believed that the two of them wouldn't choose the Life and Death Bridge. However, Longao had already said that he wouldn't choose the Life Bridge or Death Bridge. He wouldn't choose either. As for what he meant, Longao didn't say and she didn't ask. However, Yunxi trusted Longao very much. No matter what happened, she believed that Longao wouldn't harm them. "Longao, what should we do now?" Longao didn't know what to do in this situation. After all, if Yi Han and Ling Ruori didn't choose first, they couldn't do anything about it. However, if they chose first, Yi Han and Ling Ruori would definitely follow. Longao certainly didn't want the two families to take advantage of him. If he could use the Life and Death Bridge to get rid of these people, it would be a very good thing. Chapter 2854. He felt helpless. Longao knew very well that he could not appear to be too anxious. Otherwise, the other two families would definitely notice something fishy. Longao, I know what you mean. But under such circumstances, we can't afford to waste time. He nodded. How could Longao not know what Yunshi meant? Indeed, they could not afford to waste time. Yi Han and Ling Ruori seemed to have made up their minds. If they did not move, they would definitely not choose the life and death bridge. Sister Yun, if we don't choose the life and death bridge, we can only choose to walk in the middle of the life and death bridge. Middle? There was no road in the middle of the life and death bridge. Yunshi was very curious. She did not know what Longao meant. You lead the way. Longao did not say anything. He led Yunshi and the others and finally started their journey. Mph, I don't believe that you won't leave. Yi Han was very angry. The more Longao acted like this, the more he wanted to kill Longao. Leaving this person alive would be a disaster. Ah! He saw that Yunshi and the others did not choose the life bridge or the death bridge. Instead, they casually found a stepping point in the middle and directly walked over quickly. There was a black fog in the middle of the life and death bridge. One could not see the end of it. They did not know what it was. What the hell were Yunshi and the others doing? If the previous incident had not happened, no matter if it was Yi Han or Ling Ruori, they would definitely think that Longao and the others were digging their own graves. However, with the previous incident as an example, the two of them did not have the slightest hesitation. They immediately brought their own people and followed Yunshi and the others. It was just as Longao had guessed. No matter whether they chose the life or death bridge, less than 1/3 of them would be able to pass it successfully in the end. Longao seemed to be able to see through the life and death bridge. It was a strange feeling that could not be described clearly. Black fog surrounded them. Everyone, be careful. Follow me. Don't change your direction. Yunshi and the others were very nervous. Because no one knew whether Longao's choice was right or wrong. Bet. All of them were betting. If they won, everything would be fine. If they lost, they would lose their lives. Longao, are you confident? Longao smiled and said, Sister Yun, to tell you the truth, I am not completely confident. However, my intuition has always been accurate. Since Longao had already said so, Yunshi didn't say anything else. However, at this moment, Longao shot Yunshi a look and said through his spiritual consciousness, Elder Sister Yun, if I'm not mistaken, there should be a chaotic divine artifact within this black fog. Chaos divine artifact? Where? In the chaotic realm, chaotic divine weapons were rare. After all, there were not as many blacksmiths as martial artists, especially when it came to powerful chaotic divine weapons. Especially here. If Shenyuan Bubai took a fancy to something, it was obvious what it meant. Follow me. Tell Cloud Emperor and the others to continue on their way. Yunshi nodded and told Cloud Emperor and the others what Longao said. If they were outside, they wouldn't be able to do anything. However, because of the black fog, Yi Han, Ling Ruori and the others couldn't see anything clearly. Yunshi and Longao walked towards the left quietly. Yi Han, Ling Ruori and the others didn't know. After walking for a few minutes, Yunshi saw a sword floating in the black fog. It was a sharp sword that was emitting cold light. This is. Longao smiled and said, Elder Sister Yun, didn't you always ask me why I didn't choose the life and death bridge but here? Let me tell you now. When I was outside, I felt that there was something different about this black fog. Firstly, I wanted to pass through it smoothly. Secondly, I wanted to help you find this chaotic divine weapon. Longao realized that his primordial spirit seemed to have changed. If it wasn't for his primordial spirit, he wouldn't have known that there was a sword hidden here. Looking at the sword in front of him, Longao continued, according to my guess, this sword should be Shenyuan Bubai's personal weapon. Yunshi nodded. Yunshi seemed to have guessed something and said, you guessed right. This sword is called Shenyuan sword. It's famous in the Chaos realm. Senior Shenyuan Bubai used this sword to dominate the Chaos realm. Longao also did not expect that this sword actually had such a powerful origin. According to the rumors, the Shenyuan sword in Senior Shenyuan Bubai's hand is an Emperor-level divine weapon. Emperor level? Longao was shocked. According to Emperor Yun, divine weapons were divided into levels. From low to high, they were elementary, intermediate, advanced, heaven level, king level, and emperor level. From this, one could imagine what an emperor-level divine weapon meant. Elder Sister Yun, quickly drip your blood on it. From now on, this Shenyuan sword is yours. Longao had already decided that after he went to the Chaos Realm, he would immediately refine or snatch a new divine weapon. The Chaos Palace was still fine, but the Chaos Axe seemed to be a little too powerful. It was best not to leak this divine weapon. Otherwise, he would have endless troubles in the future. You found the Shenyuan sword. It should belong to you. Elder Sister Yun, there is no need to be so polite with me. Elder Sister Yun saw Longao's resolute attitude and said, I, Yun Shi, owe you one. The temptation of the Shenyuan sword was too great. Even Yun Shi could not resist. She immediately came before the Shenyuan sword. When she was about to drip her blood on it to claim ownership, she realized that the Shenyuan sword was releasing a terrifying sword light. If Yun Shi had not dodged in time, she would have been killed by the Shenyuan sword. Yun Shi was shocked. She said helplessly, treasures belong to the fated person. It seems that I am not that fated person. Longao, why don't you try? If you can get this Shenyuan sword, it will be good for you in the future. Okay. Longao did not expect the Shenyuan sword to attack Yun Shi. It seemed that it still depended on fate. He did not know if he and this emperor-level divine weapon were fated. Just as Longao was about to drip his blood on it to claim ownership, Yi Han and Ling Ruori suddenly appeared. Yi Han said coldly, fortunately, I have been paying attention to you. Otherwise, the Shenyuan sword of the War Emperor would have been taken by you. Yun Shi, Longao, it's best that the two of you step back. Otherwise, even if we're seriously injured today, the two of us will join hands to kill the two of you. If it was someone else's item, it would be fine. They did not want to fight to the death with Yun Shi unless they had no other choice. However, the situation was different now. The Shenyuan sword was the emperor-level divine weapon of the War Emperor Shenyuan Bubai. In the past, Shenyuan Bubai relied on this emperor-level divine weapon to dominate the chaotic realm. Such a treasure, they would risk their lives to get it. Just as Yun Shi was about to attack in anger, Longao pulled Yun Shi. He shook his head and said, in that case, please try and see if you can get the Shenyuan sword. Chapter 2855. What does this mean? Yi Han and Ling Ruori did not think much about it. No matter what Longao was up to, they would not give up the Shenyuan sword. The Shenyuan sword was an emperor-level celestial sword. If they could get the Shenyuan sword, they would be invincible among those of the same level. Ling Ruori and Yi Han grabbed the Shenyuan sword at the same time. Although they had formed an alliance for a short period of time, it was a joke in front of benefits. Longao, why did you give the Shenyuan sword to them? Yun Shi was very angry. No matter what. They were the ones who found the Shenyuan sword. Even if she could not get it, there was still Longao. Yun Shi was not afraid of them at all. She could fight them. Longao smiled. He did not care at all. Sister Yun, the Shenyuan divine sword must be found by the fated person. If everyone could get it, you would have gotten it just now. How could Yun Shi not know what Longao meant? He seemed to want to say something, but in the end, he sighed deeply. As expected. Just as Longao had guessed, just as their hands were about to touch the Shenyuan sword suddenly appeared. The situation suddenly changed. The Shenyuan sword suddenly released a terrifying sword radiance. The two were so scared that they quickly retreated. Even so, Yi Han and Ling Ruori were still hit by the sword radiance. If they did not dodge in time, they would have been killed by the sword radiance. Their faces were very pale. Ling Ruori and Yi Han were very scared. Longao, Yun Shi, is this your doing? Yun Shi and Longao did not say anything. Ling Ruori was really out of her mind. How could she say such things? Ling Ruori also felt that she was a little incoherent. After all, the Shenyuan sword was too tempting. An emperor-level celestial sword. Not to mention them, even a divine king would not be able to resist such temptation. Longao shrugged helplessly and said, "The three of you have tried it. Should I try it now?" "No." "Why not?" Yunshi was furious when she heard Yi Han say no. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone so shameless. Yi Han ignored him and said, "Although we have tried, our people have not tried. If others have tried and still can't do it, then it will be your turn. It is reasonable." Yunshi could not take it anymore. He didn't want to waste any more words and directly chose to start the battle. "Are you crazy? Starting a war here? Even if I die, I will drag you all down with me." Yi Han and Ling Ruori had never thought that Yunshi would really take action. They still couldn't figure it out. Was it worth it for Yunshi to do this for Longao? "Yunshi, stop it quickly. Let's let Longao try." Ling Ruori and Yi Han were really afraid of Yunshi. If she really risked her life, they would not know if they would be able to come out unscathed. Moreover, the two of them thought that they, including Yunshi, would not be able to get the Shenyuan sword. They did not believe that Longao could succeed. "Ling Ruori, Yi Han, don't be so shameless. We saw the Shenyuan sword first. We gave you a chance, but you wanted to stop Longao. If there is a next time, no matter what, I will drag one of you down with me." Yunshi did not continue her words. However, the meaning in her words was very clear. Yi Han and Ling Ruori's faces were extremely gloomy. They were as ugly as they could be. Just like what Yunshi said. After all, they found the Shenyuan sword first. They should give Longao a chance. Longao did not want to be entangled with the two of them. The three of them had been hit by the Shenyuan sword. It was still unknown whether he could successfully get the Shenyuan sword. Longao came to the Shenyuan sword carefully. He slowly reached out his hand and tried to get close to the Shenyuan sword. If the Shenyuan sword attacked him, he would retreat immediately. No attack. As soon as Longao's hand touched the Shenyuan sword, Yi Han and Ling Ruori, who were not far away, attacked at the same time. Even if they could not get the Shenyuan sword, Longao must not get it. If Longao got such an emperor-level sword, once Longao grew up, who knew what would happen? Most importantly, Longao was still a member of the Yun family. Yunshi was even faster. She directly stood in front of Longao and said with a cold smile, "The Shenyuan sword belongs to the fated one. Are the two of you going to fight for it? Yunshi, don't talk nonsense with us. Get lost." Longao only held the Shenyuan sword. A very strange feeling spread throughout his body. Even Longao did not expect that he would be able to get the Shenyuan sword. After all, Yunshi and the other two had failed. "Sister Yun, let's go." Longao certainly did not want to waste time with the others. He held Yunshi's hand and immediately ran away. Under such circumstances, how could Yi Han and Ling Ruori choose to let Longao go so easily? The two of them had decided that no matter what, they would kill Longao. "Miss, you're back. Let's go." Just as Longao had guessed, there was no danger in choosing this path. After an hour, Yunshi and the others had successfully passed. However, they did not dare to relax. Longao had successfully obtained the Shenyuan sword. Whether it was Yi Han or Ling Ruori, they would definitely not let it go. Emperor Yun and the others did not know what had happened. They did not hesitate and immediately left. After Yi Han and Ling Ruori returned, Long Mie, Tian Dao and the others were very curious. The two of them should have been happy that they had passed smoothly. However, now, Yi Han and Ling Ruori's faces were exceptionally gloomy. Did something happen? Longao has obtained the Shenyuan sword of Shenyuan Senior. The Shenyuan sword is an emperor-level celestial sword. No matter who among you, as long as you can kill Longao, this emperor-level celestial sword will belong to you. Ah! Hearing Yi Han's words, everyone was completely stunned. Even Tian Dao and the others already knew what an emperor-level celestial sword meant. If they could obtain such a celestial sword, they would definitely be invincible among those of the same level. Longao was really lucky to obtain the Shenyuan sword of Shenyuan Bubai. No wonder Yi Han and Ling Ruo's faces were so gloomy. No matter what, Longao was a member of the Yun family. No one said anything. Everyone rushed towards Longao and the others because at this moment, everyone wanted to obtain the Shenyuan sword. However, everyone was a little curious. Why did Yi Han and Ling Ruo not fight for such a heaven-defying celestial weapon? Why did they give it to others? They could not figure it out. However, under the absolute temptation, no one was thinking about it. Anyway, as long as they could obtain this emperor-level celestial sword, everything else was meaningless. Chapter 2856. Longao and the rest were moving very quickly. Hold on. Emperor Yun and the rest did not know what was going on with their young mistress. Why did she suddenly stop? At this moment, Emperor Yun and the rest already knew what was going on. While they were surprised, they were also extremely worried. Although Longao had successfully obtained the Shenyuan sword, Yi Han and Ling Ruo would definitely not let it go. They had to leave this place as soon as possible. The situation has changed. Everyone, be careful. Everyone nodded. One by one, they moved forward cautiously. Not long later. No way. Not only Yun He, but even Longao and the rest were shocked and in disbelief when they saw the huge creature in front of them. The huge creature was obviously a spiritual beast. It was sleeping, but its aura was very strong. Everyone knew that the spiritual beast in front of them was not simple. Longao, Yun Shi, hand over the Shenyuan sword. Otherwise, before he could finish, Yi Han and the rest had already arrived and saw the huge creature in front of them. Who woke me up from my sleep? Die. Yi Han and Ling Ruo seemed to have recognized what the huge creature in front of them was. Their faces changed and they retreated in fear. Berserk Sword Tiger, Intermediate Divine Spiritual Beast. Intermediate Divine Spiritual Beast. When Longao heard that the Berserk Sword Tiger in front of him was an Intermediate Divine Spiritual Beast, he was dumbfounded. He knew very well what an Intermediate Divine Spiritual Beast meant. No one present was a match for the Berserk Sword Tiger in front of them. As long as we pass through here, we will reach the entrance to the second palace. It was only a step away, but they could not cross it. Should they give up just like that? Longao held the Shenyuan sword in his hand and looked at the Berserk Sword Tiger in front of him cautiously. No matter what happened, he would not give up. If he or Qian could obtain the inheritance of a divine emperor, the chaotic world would have something to rely on in the future. However, Longao knew how powerful the Berserk Sword Tiger was. If there was no other way, he would bring Yun Shi and the rest into the Chaos Palace first. The enraged Berserk Sword Tiger did not attack as expected. Instead, it stared at the Shenyuan sword in Longao's hand. You have the Shenyuan sword? Exactly. Back then, that person tricked me into entering this place and forcefully sealed me. Today, since you have obtained his Shenyuan sword, you are this lord's enemy. I will tear you into pieces. My grass. Longao cursed in his heart. There was actually such a thing. Yi Han, Ling Ruo, and the others were pleasantly surprised. But soon, the two of them were no longer surprised. The Berserk Sword Tiger not only attacked Longao, it also attacked everyone. The Shenyuan sword in his hand flew out. However, when faced with a mid-level spiritual beast, even if everyone joined hands, it would be useless. The Berserk Sword Tiger was simply too powerful. Crack. Weakwood's speed was slightly slower and he was killed by the Berserk Sword Tiger's palm strike. Even his primordial spirit disappeared without a trace. He was too powerful. Seeing that Weakwood had already been slapped to death, everyone's faces were filled with shock. One by one, they immediately dodged. Fortunately, the Berserk Sword Tiger's range of activity was not very large. Wanting to kill everyone was not an easy task. What should we do now? The Berserk Sword Tiger was simply unable to leave its sealed circle. Therefore, it could only rely on its aura to attack. However, if it wanted to use its aura to attack and kill everyone, it was clearly a bit of nonsense. Tian Dao and Yi Ji Mai had already retreated to Ling Ruo's side. Only Long Ming was firmly entangled by the berserk sword tiger. Just thinking about it, one could imagine what the result would be. Yun Shi and the others also retreated to the other side. They finally let out a sigh of relief. The berserk sword tiger was simply too terrifying. If it was not sealed and could not chase after them, they believed that right now, none of them would be able to resist it. With the berserk sword tiger guarding this place, wanting to rush to the passage was not an easy task. Longao, who had just escaped from danger, suddenly saw Long Ming firmly entangled by the berserk sword tiger. Life and death were at stake. Longao did not care about anything else. With a stride forward, his entire body had already flown out. Ever since entering the land of inheritance, not only Longao, even the others were unable to use teleportation. Longao. Long Ming, who was already in despair and waiting for death, suddenly saw a figure flash in front of him. When he saw who it was, he was completely stunned. This was because even if he was beaten to death, he would never have thought that the person who saved him was Longao, his former big brother. He had already pledged his allegiance to Ling Ruori, but in the end, Ling Ruori did not care about his life and death. Thinking about how he had treated Longao in the past, Long Ming felt a deep sense of guilt. How could Longao not know what Long Ming was thinking in his heart? Let's leave first. Big brother, I feel that I have let you down. Before I die, I will repay you once. As if thinking of something, Longao did not say anything. Long Ming's body had already exploded with a terrifying force. Since things had already come to this, Longao knew that there was no point in saying anything more. He immediately summoned Yun Shi to prepare to break out of the encirclement. However, everyone still underestimated the berserk sword tiger's strength. Before Long Ming's primordial spirit could explode, he was already slapped to death by the berserk sword tiger. Longao did not dare to stay any longer. He immediately retreated. Seeing that it could not chase after them, the berserk sword tiger roared furiously. Its aura directly enveloped the surroundings. However, it was still the same. It was not realistic to kill everyone here with just its aura. Longao, you have to be careful. The berserk sword tiger seems to hate the Shenyuan sword in your hand. Once we get close, you will be the first person it will attack. Understood. Longao also felt helpless. He did not expect the berserk sword tiger to hate Shenyuan Bubai so much. However, what made him curious was that with Shenyuan Bubai's strength, the berserk sword tiger was not even on the same level. Even if there was hatred, it should know its own limits. What was going on? He did not understand, nor did he think about it. After all, this was not the time to think about it. Longao knew that if he wanted to rush to the second layer of the palace, he had to pass through the berserk sword tiger. However, with the berserk sword tiger's terrifying strength, even if everyone here worked together, they would not be able to pass through it. Could it be that they really had to stop here? Longao's expression was very ugly. His intuition told him that since Shenyuan Bubai wanted to find a successor, he would definitely not do something that was basically impossible. There had to be a way to solve this. A way to solve this. Could it be the Shenyuan sword in his hand? Longao was very clear that this was only the first layer of the palace. How could the Shenyuan sword appear here? The only explanation was that the Shenyuan sword could help him enter the second layer of the palace. If that was really the case, then whether he could smoothly leave this place and enter the second layer of the palace would depend on the Shenyuan sword in his hand. Chapter 2857. Longao could not do anything about Long Ming's death. He had tried his best and his conscience was clear. Sister Yun, I have a way to get there. Yun Shi, who was at her wit's end, suddenly heard Longao's words. She asked in surprise, really? Longao didn't hide anything either. He explained his guess in detail. After listening, Yun Shi nodded in agreement and said, if what you said is true, then it's true. No matter what, you should give it a try. Okay. Longao did not want to waste any more time. He held the Shenyuan sword in his hand and quietly sensed the Shenyuan sword. Unknowingly, the Shenyuan sword released rays of sword light. In a short while, It formed a sword light shield around Longao. He was overjoyed. Longao knew very well that his guess was right. Shenyuan Bubai left the Shenyuan sword in the first palace to deal with the berserk sword tiger. Without a doubt, the sword light shield would be able to withstand the berserk sword tiger's attack. Can I? Longao, of course, knew what Yunshi meant. He nodded and said, "Follow me." Yunshi waved her hand. Emperor Yun and the others were also overjoyed. They did not dare to hesitate and immediately followed. Looking at the sword light shield around Longao, Yi Han, Ling Ruori, and the others seemed to have guessed something. Their faces suddenly changed and their hearts were filled with hatred. The Shenyuan sword was indeed a move left behind by Shenyuan Bubai. Unfortunately, the one who obtained the Shenyuan sword was Longao and not them. Hatred. Yi Han and Ling Ruori, of course, did not want Longao to go alone. If that was the case, they could only choose to give up. They might not even have the chance to get out. No matter what happened, they had to stop Longao. Longao, don't you think you can leave? Longao had already guessed that Yi Han and Ling Ruori would come out to cause trouble. There was no other way. After all, he could use the sword light shield. If they came out to cause trouble, it would be hard to say. Before Yunshi could speak, Longao took the lead and said, "Yi Han, Ling Ruori, I can help you. But you have to make a soul-pledging oath. From now on, you are not allowed to have any ideas about the Shen Yuan sword. What do you think?" Longao. "Sister Yun, I know what to do." Yunshi seemed to want to say something, but when she looked at Longao who was close at hand, she sighed deeply and endured it in the end. The Shenyuan sword was indeed good. However, compared to Shenyuan Bubai's legacy, it was still lacking. Both Yi Han and Ling Ruori nodded in agreement. Next, Yi Han and Ling Ruori made a primordial spirit oath. "Let's go." Longao activated his sword light chi barrier to the maximum, but even so, there were still people who couldn't pass through. However, none of them were willing to give up on Shenyuan Bubai's inheritance. As expected, the berserk sword tiger didn't dare to approach the sword chi cover, and could only run around in circles anxiously. Just at this moment, no one knew if Longao did it on purpose, but only half of Yi and Ling Cheng's bodies were covered by the sword chi cover. However, in the next second, the sword chi cover on their bodies disappeared completely. Before the two of them could react, the berserk sword tiger had already killed the two of them. Longao. He definitely did it on purpose. Yi Han and Ling Ruori weren't fools. How could they not see through Longao's tricks? If it was someone else, if Longao dared to do this, they would have killed Longao even if they had to risk fighting Yunshi. However, the situation was different now. If they were to attack Longao now, they wouldn't be able to control the Shenyuan sword and everyone here would die. Endure. Both of their faces were gloomy. Longao didn't care at all. He was almost certain that if he killed one or two people, Yi Han and Ling Ruori wouldn't dare to act recklessly in the current situation. Half an hour later, looking at the entrance in front of them, Yi Han and Ling Ruori were furious. However, they endured it in the end. Yi Han said coldly, "Longao, thank you for bringing us here. As a reward, we won't attack you here. However, once we enter the second palace, we won't be courteous. Even if we don't snatch the Shenyuan sword from you, we won't let this go." After Yi Han finished speaking, he immediately entered the passage and went to the second palace. Ling Ruori was left behind. She looked at Longao coldly. She never thought that a small starry sky warrior would be able to take the lead in this trip. Ling Ruori even suspected that Longao had entered the Shenyuan inheritance before. Otherwise, why would he be able to find a way to travel together with them every time? After everyone had entered, Yunlu said helplessly, "Longao, you were too reckless this time. If you could kill Yi Han and Ling Ruori, our chances of success would be much higher. It would also save us a lot of trouble." Regarding Yunlu's meaning, how could Longao not know? However, before Longao could speak, Yunshi had already said, "This is only the first layer of the palace. There is no need for us to fight to the death. Since the Yi family and the Ling family have sent out Yi Han and Ling Ruori, The two of them should have trump cards. Emperor Yun and the others disagreed. However, since things had already come to this, they didn't want to say anything more. After all, it was all thanks to Longao. If it wasn't for Longao, they wouldn't have been able to make it this far. Let's go. The group did not hesitate and immediately entered the passageway. After the light kept flashing, Yunxi and the others had already entered the second layer of the palace. Looking at the unfamiliar environment around them, in the next second, all the information about the second layer of the palace appeared in their minds. The second palace is more dangerous than the first palace. We have to be more careful. There was no doubt about it. However, in order to obtain the inheritance of Shenyuan Bubai, no one chose to give up even if they knew that there were endless dangers ahead. Compared to the Emperor God's inheritance, it was still worth it. Where are Yi Han and Ling Ruori? At this moment, everyone realized that the people from the Yi family and Ling family weren't around. Longao thought for a while and said, "It seems that they have left first. Or they are preparing to ambush us at a certain location. So, we have to be more careful." Yunxi and the others looked solemn. After all, Yi Han and Ling Ruori were troublesome to deal with. It was actually a very dangerous thing to enter the third palace smoothly. Looking around, there were dense forests everywhere, covering the sky and the sun. After Longao and the others rested for a while, they immediately set off. The next mission was to smoothly head to the entrance and head to the third palace because Shenyuan Bubai's inheritance was in the third palace. Chapter 2858. Everyone, be careful. They were surrounded by trees that covered the sky. They could not see the end of the trees. It was eerie. Elder Sister Yun, earlier, we managed to obtain the Shenyuan sword in the first layer of the palace. That was how we were able to successfully leave and enter the second layer of the palace. Say, if we want to enter the third layer of the palace, do we need to obtain other treasures as well? How could Yunxi not know what Longao meant? She nodded. Yunxi thought for a while and said, "If what you said is true, it is true. But it is not easy to find treasures." It was indeed difficult. Yunxi was very clear in her heart that if they did not have Longao's help by their side, not to mention arriving here smoothly, it was unknown whether they would be able to leave the first layer of the palace alive. Longao knew that. Treasures were only for those who were fated to get them. Longao released his primordial spirit. He was confident in his 9-colored lotus primordial spirit. Since it could sense the Shenyuan sword, it might be able to sense other treasures too. They continued on their way while sensing. Until now, they had not seen Yi Han and Ling Ruori. Where did these people go? They were curious. The entire forest was boundless. Even with their speed, they couldn't get out of it no matter how hard they tried. Could it be a maze? After a careful inspection, whether it was Yunxi or Longao, they were very sure that this was definitely not a maze. Perhaps this forest was really big. Look, what is that? It was not far away. A huge black vortex was wriggling slowly. It looked terrifying. Those are black peak ants. There must be tens of millions of them here. The black peak ants were only the size of a fingernail. It was strange. Countless black peak ants were moving in a counterclockwise direction. It was like a huge circle that was spinning. Even Longao and the rest could not tell what was going on. Let's go around it. Yunxi and the rest did not want to create more trouble. They just wanted to get out of here and head to the third palace. The inheritance of the Battle Emperor was right in front of them. As long as they could enter the third palace, they would have a high chance of successfully obtaining the inheritance of the Divine Emperor. As long as they could obtain the inheritance of the Battle Emperor, it would be of great significance to them and their families. Longao stood still as he stared at the black peak and whirlpool in front of him. Longao, what are you doing? Yunxi asked curiously when she saw that Longao was not moving. Could it be that there was something wrong with the black peak and vortex? However, no matter how she looked at it, she could not find anything wrong with it. Longao didn't say anything. He just stared at her. Seeing that Longao did not speak, Yunlu seemed to want to ask something but was stopped by Yunxi. Longao must have discovered something. Let's not disturb him. Let him slowly look and think. Yun Lu and the rest were very surprised. Along the way, Yun Shi seemed to have an indescribable feeling towards Longao. She listened to everything Longao said. Even if Longao was wrong, Yun Shi would probably listen to him. Could it be that Yun Shi liked Longao? It was basically impossible for such a nonsensical matter to happen. Everyone was very clear about the difference in status between Longao and Yun Shi. Not to mention strength, Yun Shi was the precious daughter of the Yun family patriarch. She was extremely talented and had the highest chance of becoming a mid-god. On the other hand, Longao was only from a starry sky. Even if his talent was alright, he was still not qualified to be compared to Yun Shi. They were just making wild guesses. Time ticked by. About a few hours later, Longao said in surprise, "Just as I thought, just as I thought." "Longao, what's going on?" Seeing Longao's surprised look, Yun Shi shook her head helplessly and asked with a smile. Even Yun Shi herself did not realize that her attitude towards Longao was obviously different from before. If it was before, Yun Shi would definitely say that she was taking care of Longao for Qian'er's sake. But now, ever since they entered the first palace, Yun Shi had not said such words. "Sister Yun, I just noticed that something was wrong with the Black Peak and Whirlpool. I have been observing it carefully and finally found the pattern. If I'm not wrong, there must be a treasure left behind by Senior Shenyuan in the Black Peak and Whirlpool. It's also an important treasure that can help us leave the second palace." Really? Not only Yun Shi, but even Yun Lu and the rest were looking at the Black Peak and Whirlpool in surprise. If that was the case, then this was really a blessing in disguise. Emperor Yun and the rest were also pleasantly surprised. Originally, they had brought Longao along to let Longao broaden his horizons. After all, Longao was Qian'er's sweetheart and could be considered half a member of the Yun family in the future. But they never expected that Longao would not only not burden them, but also help them in every way. If it was not for Longao, they would not have been able to reach this place, let alone enter the third palace. "Longao, what should we do?" Yun Shi was not a fool. Even if she knew that there was a treasure in the Black Peak and Vortex in front of her, and it was a treasure that could help them go to the third palace, she did not dare to act rashly. Just like the Shenyuan sword from before, the strength of the three of them was far above Longao, but none of them could get close to the Shenyuan sword, except for Longao. As the saying goes, treasures belong to those who are fated to obtain them. "I'll go." Yun He could not wait any longer. Although they had relied on Longao to reach this place, Longao had obtained the Shenyuan sword. Yun He could not stand it anymore. If he could obtain Shenyuan Bubai's treasure, he could bring it back to his family and be heavily nurtured by his family. No. Without giving Emperor Yun and Yun Shi a chance to speak, Yun He took a big stride forward and dashed out at an extremely fast speed. From the beginning to the end, Longao did not say a word. How could he not know what Yun He meant? Not only Yun He, but even Yun Tian, who was beside him, could not wait any longer and dashed out as well. Yun Shi, Emperor Yun, and Yun Lu's faces were extremely gloomy. They had never expected that the two who were usually so respectful and obedient would suddenly behave like this. They were like two mad lions that could not hold back at all. Although they understood what the two were thinking, it also depended on the time. In the face of the family's interests, personal matters were almost negligible. Seeing the two madly rushing towards the Black Peak and Whirlpool, Longao shook his head helplessly and said, "They're dead for sure." "Ah!" Hearing Longao's words, the three of them were shocked. Before the three of them could ask what to do, two miserable screams came from not far away. Chapter 28:59. Whether it was Yun Tian or Yun He, they were surrounded by countless Blackpeak ants as soon as they approached. In just a few seconds, the two of them were completely devoured by the surrounding Blackpeak ants. Yun Shi and the rest were completely shocked. The Blackpeak ants were terrifying. The three of them sighed deeply but did not say anything. Yun Tian and Yun He were courting their own deaths. They could not blame anyone else. Longao said, "Sister Yun, I was about to tell you, but I didn't expect them to be faster than me. How could Yoon she not know what Longao meant? It has nothing to do with you to begin with. They only have themselves to blame for seeking death. Longao did not take what happened earlier to heart. Although he was already friends with the Yoon family, it did not mean that he could tolerate everything. Whether it was Yoon Hee or Yoon Tien, they did not like him. Especially this time, it was obvious that they did not want him to get the treasure. He sneered in his heart. Sister Yoon, according to my guess, if there are no accidents, I still have to rely on the Shenyuan sword in my hand to get the thing inside. I guessed it too. Give it a try. If you can really get the treasure and help us leave this place, it will be great. Longao smiled. Without any hesitation, he immediately held the Shenyuan sword in his hand and rushed toward the Black Peak ants in front of him. Just as Longao had guessed, the Shenyuan sword released the Shenyuan sword. The Shenyuan sword was released slightly from the sword tomb. The Black Peak ants that were circling around the sword tomb suddenly began to separate. In a short while, a huge pattern was revealed. As for the countless Black Peak ants, they were unwilling to leave and surrounded Longao. Originally, Yoon Shi and the rest wanted to go up and take a look. However, when they thought of Yoon Hee and Yoon Tien's decapitation, they shook their heads and endured it. Treasures were only obtained by those who were fated. If it was yours, it would always be yours. If it was not yours, it would not be yours no matter what. The three of them understood this principle. Longao was still releasing the sword gleam. If the sword gleam disappeared, the surrounding Black Peak ants would probably swarm over. At that time, he would probably follow in their footsteps. What a strange pattern. In front of Longao was a circular pattern with the word battle carved on it. That's right, it was the word battle. It was an ordinary word, but Longao was stunned. He stared at the word on the pattern. In the distance. When they saw Longao's motionless body, Yoon Lu's group of three knew that if nothing unexpected happened, Longao would probably obtain another treasure. Although she was with Longao, it would be a lie to say that she wasn't jealous. These were all Shenyuan Bubai's treasures. Cloud Emperor sighed deeply. Uncle Yoon, what's wrong? Young mistress, to tell you the truth, it doesn't matter if Longao obtains these treasures. If he obtains the Battle Emperor's inheritance, then we, at this point, Cloud Emperor did not continue, but the meaning of his words was clear. Yoon she also sighed deeply in her heart. Just like what Cloud Emperor said, it would be fine if it was other treasures, but the Battle Emperor's inheritance, even if she was willing, her family would not be willing. Cloud Emperor and Yoon Lu would definitely not be willing. When Senior Shenyuan chooses his successor, it depends on whether they are fated. The three of us are obviously not fated. Can't you see it? Since stepping into the inheritance ground, not only did Longao obtain the Shenyuan sword, but he also managed to turn danger into safety. It seems like Shenyuan Bubai has his eyes on Longao. How could the other two not know what Yoon she was talking about? They were envious, jealous, and resentful. If nothing unexpected happened, Longao would have the highest chance of obtaining the Battle Emperor's inheritance. Uncle Yoon, Longao has always been Chen-er's sweetheart. He is considered half a member of the Yoon family. As long as we treat him well, once he becomes a divine emperor in the future, it might not be a bad thing for the Yoon family. Even Yoon she himself couldn't explain why he always had to think for Longao. Miss, I know what you mean. However, with Longao's strength, once he steps into the chaotic realm, wouldn't it be a waste if he could obtain the Battle Emperor's inheritance? We are powerless to change fate. Seeing that Cloud Emperor was about to say something, Yoon she continued, if we force it, we might end up like the others and die here. Cloud Emperor and Yoon Lu shuddered at the thought of Yoon Tien and Yoon his ending. Longao stared at the battle symbol in front of him. Gradually, his entire body merged with the symbol. Right at this moment, a horrifying power suddenly erupted from the battle character in the pattern, directly enveloping Longao. What is this? If I'm not mistaken, Longao should have obtained a divine technique. With such a strong battle intent, Senior Shenyuan Bubai is indeed worthy of being called the War Emperor. The name of the Battle Emperor resounded through the entire chaotic realm. Back in the primal chaos world, There were countless legends about the battle emperor Shenyuan Bubai. He possessed great strength, and with the Shenyuan sword in his hand, he dominated countless heavenly regions. Now that they personally felt such a terrifying battle intent, the expressions of Yun Shi and the other two changed again and again. Yun Shi was genuinely happy for Longao. If Longao could really obtain such a powerful divine art, then even if he did not obtain the Battle Emperor's inheritance, he would still have the ability to protect himself when he went to the chaotic realm in the future. Yun Lu and Cloud Emperor's eyes were filled with many meanings. However, the two of them were very clear that they could not snatch it. Fate had already been decided. If the two of them tried to snatch it, they would end up dead. Longao did not expect that the battle symbol on the symbol would have such a terrifying fighting spirit. The battle symbol directly merged with Longao's primordial spirit. In the next second, a sword skill called the God-slaying 9 swords appeared in his mind. The God-slaying 9 swords could slay gods with every move. Longao could totally imagine how powerful the God-slaying 9 swords was. It was completely comparable to his chaotic 9 axes. Longao was extremely excited. Not only because he had obtained such a powerful sword skill, but also because his primordial spirit had merged with the battle symbol and boundless fighting spirit. The chaotic stone tablet in his body suddenly surged with chaotic energy, forming an endless cycle in his dantian. Half-step lower god. According to Yun Shi, as long as he could step into the chaotic realm, he could undergo the refinement of chaotic energy. At that time, he could become a lower god and become a true lower god. Half-step lower god, how could he not be excited? Even without the help of Yun Shi and the rest, he could enter the chaotic realm on his own. However, the only downside was that he had originally planned to enter the chaotic realm 3 years later. It seemed that after leaving the land of legacy, he would have to prepare to go to the chaotic realm as soon as possible. P.S. Many people are asking when Longao will enter the chaotic realm. I believe that everyone has seen that he will be going to the chaotic realm soon. Chapter 2860. 2 hours later, Longao had already left the place. The surrounding black peak ants swarmed towards him. But soon, in just a few seconds, the black peak ants that had just gathered suddenly dispersed. In a moment, they had disappeared without a trace. Longao, you've got the god skill? Nodding his head. Longao did not hide anything from the 3 of them. He said, my luck is not bad. This sword skill can be used with the Shenyuan sword to unleash great power. Just as expected, Yun Shi and the other 2 had already guessed that the god skill that Longao had gotten might be related to the Shenyuan sword. Now that they heard Longao say it, it was indeed so. Let's continue. Yun Lu and Emperor Yun were not greedy. Even if they got the sword skill, it would not be of much use to them. Longao had already said that the sword skill could only unleash its power when used with the Shenyuan sword. Since they did not get the Shenyuan sword, there was no point in getting the sword skill. Longao, can we pass through the second palace successfully? Yun Shi and the other 2 knew that they could not make it out of the second palace alone, let alone the third palace. All hope was on Longao. Regarding Yun Shi 3 people's intentions, how could Longao not know? He shrugged his shoulders helplessly and said, I don't know. But I have a feeling that since I can get the sword skill, we should be able to leave the second palace successfully if nothing goes wrong. Hearing Longao's words, the eyes of the 3 of them lit up. Without asking anything else, the 4 of them continued forward. Whoosh! 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 Yi Han, Ling Ruori, you guys are really despicable. Ha ha ha. Longao, Yun Shi. Today, we will join forces and kill all of you. Yi Han and Ling Ruori thought about it and felt that something was not right. If this continued, they would not be able to get the inheritance of the War Emperor. In the end, be it Yi Han or Ling Ruori, they were afraid. They were afraid that Longao would get the inheritance of the War Emperor. At this moment, on Yi Han's side, only Yi Han, Yi Ku, Blood Demon, and Dragon Annihilation were left. As for Ling Ruori's side, only Ling Ruori, Ling Xiu, Tian Dao, and Yi Jimai were left. As for Long Ming, Luo Mu, and Ruo Mu, they were all dead. There were a total of 8 people on both sides. On the other hand, on Yun Shi's side, Yun He and Yun Tian had already fallen. Only Yun Shi, Yun Lu, Yun Di, and Longao were left. There were only 4 people left, which was equivalent to 1 against 2. Without a doubt. Yun Shi fought against Yi Han and Ling Ruoyi. As for Emperor Yun, he fought against Ling Xiu and Yi Ku. Yun Lu and Longao fought against the remaining 4 people, namely Blood Demon, Long Mie, Yi Ji-mai, and Tian Dao. Although Yun Lu was also a demigod, because of the heavy injuries he had suffered in the past, he still hadn't recovered. The current Yun Lu could not even be considered half a low deity. His strength was only slightly stronger than the 4 of them. If it was in the past, Longao would have had a hard time winning against the 2 of them. Ever since he entered the Land of Legacy, he couldn't break through the starry sky. Actually, Longao had already guessed that even if he entered the chaotic realm, it would be impossible for him to break through space with the Chaos Axe, let alone in the Land of Legacy. According to Yun Shi, the reason why he could break through the starry sky was probably due to luck. This was because to enter the starry sky and do so, one had to be at least a middle god. What kind of concept was that? But now, everything was different. At this moment, not only did Longao control the power of chaos in the Chaos Stone Tablet, but he also obtained the 9 godslaying swords left behind by Shenyuan Bubai. Blood Demon and Long Mie fought against Longao. Both of them didn't care about each other at all. If it wasn't for the fact that Longao had been hiding in the Space Chaos artifact, Longao would have been dead by now. Taking advantage of this opportunity, they had to kill Longao successfully. Otherwise, when Longao left this place and entered the chaotic realm, who knew how long it would take to kill him? Blood Demon and Long Mie attacked Longao crazily from the left and right. Yun Shi and the others were very worried about Longao. Apart from their own concerns, Longao could bring them into the 3rd palace successfully. However, Yun Shi, Yun Lu, and Emperor Yun couldn't even take care of themselves. They couldn't spare any time to help Longao. They thought that Longao wouldn't be able to withstand it. But the result? Suddenly, a terrifying fighting spirit was released from Longao's body and it rose steadily. In a short period of time, the fighting spirit released from Longao's body had soared to a terrifying level. Not to mention Shui Mo and Long Ming, even Yun Shi and the other 2 were shocked speechless when they felt this unparalleled fighting spirit. The 9 god-slaying swords didn't need to be cultivated at all. It could be comprehended directly. With Longao's current strength, he could easily use the first god-slaying sword. Ever since Longao obtained the 9 god-slaying swords and the Shenyuan sword, he had never used them. He could use this opportunity to test the power of the Shenyuan sword and the 9 god-slaying swords to see if they were as powerful as Yun Shi and the others had said. With the Shenyuan sword in his hand, Longao didn't hesitate at all. He directly slashed at Blood Demon and Long Ming. It was the first sword of the 9 god-slaying swords. The terrifying fighting spirit instantly enveloped the 2 of them, causing them to shiver involuntarily. The 9 god-slaying swords. It's Senior Xuanyuan's 9 god-slaying swords. You actually obtained Senior Xuanyuan's 9 god-slaying swords. F***CK Yihan had already guessed some clues in an instant. He even didn't hesitate to expose it. This was because he had never thought that not only did Longao obtain the Shenyuan sword, but he also obtained the 9 godslaying swords. This was because Yi Han knew very well what it meant to have the Shenyuan sword and the 9 godslaying swords. According to the legends, Shenyuan Bubai, who was also the war emperor, relied on the Shenyuan sword in his hand and the 9 godslaying swords to dominate countless heavens. Who would have thought that Longao had already obtained these before he even entered the 3rd palace? Could it be that Shenyuan Bubai had taken a fancy to this person and was preparing to let him accept the inheritance? Thinking of this, Yi Han's murderous intent grew. This was because even if Longao obtained the Shenyuan sword and the 9 godslaying swords, he would still be no match for him. In this battle, no matter what price he had to pay, he had to kill Longao. Otherwise, once Longao obtained Shenyuan Bubai's inheritance, he and his family would be in trouble. Most importantly, Longao still belonged to the Yun family. What Yi Han thought of, Ling Ruori also thought of at the same time. The two of them quickly exchanged glances and both of them looked at Longao. However, at this moment, Yun Shi clung onto the two of them tightly. She smiled and said, "Your opponent is me." Chapter 2861. Yun Shi was shocked as well. Of course, she knew that Longao had obtained a sword technique. However, she did not expect that the sword technique that Longao had obtained was the legendary godslaying 9 swords. According to the rumors, back then, Shenyuan Bubai had relied on the Shenyuan sword and the godslaying 9 swords to dominate countless heavenly regions. Although Longao had not obtained the true inheritance of the War Emperor, he had already obtained the Shenyuan sword and the godslaying 9 swords. This was equivalent to obtaining half of the inheritance. No wonder Yi Han and Ling Ruori had gone crazy. Blood Demon and Long Mie were shocked as well. What a terrifying battle intent. The terrifying battle intent that rose from Longao's body was like a huge dragon that had risen to the sky and looked down on the world. You have already mastered the power of chaos? Both Long Mie and Blood Demon were dumbfounded at this moment. They were clear about Longao's current strength. The strength of a half-step lower god was enough to kill them. Longao would not waste his breath on the two of them. The first sword of the god-slaying 9 swords attacked the two of them crazily. "Ah, no!" 2 miserable cries could be heard. Before anyone could react, the two of them had been killed by Longao. Killing the two of them with 1 sword was enough to show how powerful Longao was. After successfully killing Blood Demon and Long Mie, he immediately rushed towards Tian Dao and Ji of Plum Blossom. Although Ji of Plum Blossom was his friend, that was a matter of the past. Ji of Plum Blossom and the Clairvoyant had repeatedly targeted him. He did not want such friends. Tian Dao and Ji of Plum Blossom were completely dumbfounded. At this moment, the strength that Longao had displayed was too strong. Even Long Mie and Blood Demon were not a match for Longao, let alone them. That was the case. Tian Dao and Ji of Plum Blossom did not dare to go against Longao. They were prepared to leave this place. The so-called inheritance was just nonsense. Even now, the heavenly Daos didn't dare to imagine that someone who had once been an ant-like existence on the martial heaven continent could grow to such a level. With the strength of a half-step lower god, coupled with the Shenyuan sword and the 9 god-slaying swords, even a half-step lower god of the same level would not be a match for Longao, let alone them. "You want to leave?" How could Longao give Tian Dao and Ji of Plum Blossom the chance to leave? He caught up to the two of them at his fastest speed and slashed out with the Shenyuan sword without hesitation. At the same time, he also used the first sword of the 9 god-slaying swords. The result was obvious. Looking at the 4 corpses on the ground, Longao sighed. At this point, of the 12 rulers of the universe, only Shen Tong, Xiling, the Clairvoyant, and Yi Dugu were left. As for Long Qiong, he did not count at all. Yunlu also sighed. In such a short period of time, Longao had grown to such an extent that even the current him was no match for Longao. Shenyuan sword, 9 god-slaying swords. With regards to everything that Longao had obtained, even Yunlu was a little moved. To Yi Han and Ling Ruori, the life and death of the 4 people were nothing. However, the two of them were very surprised by Longao's strength. Strictly speaking, they were surprised by the strength of the Shenyuan sword and the 9 god-slaying swords. They were indeed Shenyuan Bubai's things. The more it was so, the more Yi Han and Ling Ruori wanted to kill him. If they did not get rid of Longao, they were afraid that after Longao entered the chaotic realm, he would grow to a point where they would not be able to match him. Besides that, the two of them became more and more greedy for the Shenyuan sword and the 9 god-slaying swords. Although they had already made a primordial spirit oath that they would not snatch the Shenyuan sword from Longao's hands, if Longao died, it would not be considered snatching. Thinking of this, the two of them became crazier. Because the two of them were very clear that if they wanted to kill Longao, they had to kill Yunshi first. Otherwise, everything would be nonsense. They had to admit that Yunshi was indeed powerful. Even if it was 1 against 2, She could handle it with ease. It was impossible to end the battle in the shortest time possible. Longao would definitely not interfere in the battle between Yun Shi and the other two. Although he had the Shenyuan sword and the 9 god-slaying swords and his cultivation level had reached half-step to lower god, it was impossible for him to fight against a peak lower god. Rather than implicating Yun Shi, he might as well take the opportunity to kill the others. Yi Ku and Ling Xiu were both lower gods. Emperor Yun was gradually unable to withstand the two against one. Just as Yun Lu was about to take action, he was stopped by Longao. "Don't go. Let me do it." "Thank you." Longao held the Shenyuan sword and rushed towards Yi Ku and Ling Xiu. Before he arrived, the Shenyuan sword in his hand had already slashed out. The sword radiance was like the roar of a dragon, causing the two of them to tremble. What a terrifying battle intent. Even lower gods could not help but tremble. The two of them knew very well that they were not afraid of Longao, but the Shenyuan sword and the 9 god-slaying swords. "Yi Ku, what are you doing? Longao is just a half-step to lower god. Are you afraid of an ant?" Yi Ku and Ling Xiu suddenly trembled. That's right. The two of them were lower gods and had broken through for many years. Longao had just mastered the chaotic energy and could only be considered a half-step to lower god. No matter how powerful the Shenyuan sword in his hand was, it would be impossible for him to kill the two of them. However, the two of them were already in a passive position, especially with Emperor Yun holding them back. Longao was overjoyed and he slashed out with the Shenyuan sword without hesitation. However, Longao knew that it would be difficult to kill two lower gods with the 9 god-slaying swords alone. Primordial spirit attack. Although Longao's cultivation was only at the so-called half-step lower god level, his primordial spirit was so powerful that it had already far surpassed the lower god level. There was a chance that he could attain the primordial spirit of a middle god. Even in the entire chaotic world, he was a unique existence. Under normal circumstances, Longao would not be willing to use the 4th axe of the Chaos Axe, the annihilation of consciousness. Even if his primordial spirit was stronger than a lower god, he was worried that his primordial spirit would be devoured. However, the current situation was the best time for him to use it. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. For some reason, the two lower gods who were fighting Emperor Yun suddenly screamed in pain and squatted on the ground. It was as if their heads had been hit hard. Whether it was Yun Shi, Yi Han, or Ling Ruori, they were all stunned. They did not know what had happened and why the two of them would do that. It was obviously a primordial spirit attack. However, other than the three of them, it seemed that Emperor Yun, Yun Lu, and Longao were not able to do that. Kill them while they were down. Longao would not give the two of them any chance. Since things had already turned out this way, there would be one less person to kill. If he could kill the two of them successfully, Ling Ruori and Yi Han would be left alone. By then, he would be able to intimidate the two of them. At the thought of this, the Shenyuan sword in his hand slashed towards the two of them without hesitation. Chapter 2862. Emperor Yun's heart was filled with shock. Was this Longao? Was this the Longao that he knew, the one who only knew how to dodge? Catcher, catcher. Wherever the sword light passed, regardless of whether it was Yun He or Yun Tian, they were all decapitated. Within a few minutes, Longao relied on the Shen Yuan sword and 9 god-slaying swords in his hands to kill 6 people in a row. Even Emperor Yun admitted that he was not as powerful as Longao. Actually, no one knew. The reason why Longao was able to kill 2 lower gods was because of the importance of the Shen Yuan sword and 9 god-slaying swords. However, the most important reason was that Longao's primordial spirit was far stronger than that of a lower god. Yi Han and Ling Ruori forced Yun Shi back with a palm strike. Looking at the corpse on the ground, their faces changed again and again. Longao actually killed their lower god. Was this true? If the other party was a lower god, it would be fine. However, Longao was only a half-step lower god. He had not even entered the chaos world to refine the power of chaos. Anger. Endless anger turned into billowing murderous intent. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Yihan said coldly, Longao, how dare you kill my Yi family's people? He laughed coldly. Longao did not care at all. He said, so they are allowed to kill me but I am not allowed to kill them? Yi family is really domineering. So what if I kill you? In our eyes, you are just an ant. High and mighty. No matter where the Yi family was in the vast universe, they were high and mighty. He had never thought that a half-step lower god from the universe would dare to kill his Yi family's people. This was a complete provocation. In fact, other than anger, Yihan became greedy for the Shen Yuan sword and 9 god-slaying swords in Longao's hands. A half-step lower god could kill 2 lower gods with the Shen Yuan sword and 9 god-slaying swords. If he could get the Shen Yuan sword and 9 god-slaying swords, wouldn't he be able to kill a middle god? Thinking of this, Yihan wanted nothing more than to immediately kill Longao and snatch the Shen Yuan sword in Longao's hands, as well as the 9 god-slaying swords. However, when he thought of Yunshi beside him, the anger in his heart could not help but erupt. Longao, you really gave me a big surprise. Longao smiled bitterly. Other than him, no one else knew about the dangers involved. Although nirvana consciousness was powerful, his cultivation was unable to suppress a lesser god. Being able to succeed in this situation did not mean that he would be able to succeed in other situations. Sister Yun, what should we do now? Even an idiot could see that Yi Han and Ling Ruori had completely lost their minds. Although the two of them had sworn that they would not snatch the Shenyuan sword, they did not swear that they would not snatch the 9 god-slaying swords. Inheritance. Whether or not he would be able to obtain the inheritance was still unknown. The Shenyuan sword and the 9 god-slaying swords were right in front of him. As long as he was a smart person, he would know what to do. Yunshi's expression was also very cold. She smiled and said, as long as we don't die, we will protect you with our lives. He was very touched. Longao did not say much. Everything was understood without words. Longao, you killed my people. I will give you 2 choices. Ling Ruori smiled and said, the first choice is that the 2 of us continue to work together. Even if you have the Shenyuan sword and the 9 god-slaying swords, it would be impossible for you to leave here alive. Longao did not say anything. Yunshi did not say anything either. The second condition is that you hand over the Shenyuan sword and the 9 god-slaying swords. Previously, the 2 of you made a primordial soul oath that you would not snatch the Shenyuan sword from Longao. Are you going to violate the primordial soul oath? He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen such shameless people. Ling Ruori did not seem to care at all. She continued to smile and said, we did make a primordial soul oath. However, if Longao were to hand it over, it would be a different concept. One had to admit that Ling Ruori's shamelessness was at the peak of perfection. Longao was not angry at all. This was human nature. No matter if it was here or in the chaotic world, there were many people like her. Who should I give it to? Yunshi and the other 2 were very curious. What did Longao mean? Was he going to hand over the Shenyuan sword and the 9 god-slaying swords? Yunshi did not say anything. However, she was very anxious. She knew very well what it meant to have the Shenyuan sword and the 9 god-slaying swords. With these, Longao would be able to gain a foothold in the chaotic world. You don't have to worry about this. You just have to hand it over to us. As for how to distribute it, it is up to Yi Han and me. Ruori is right. After all, we are already a family. Ling Ruori did not say anything. However, she was extremely disgusted. If she had the chance, she would definitely kill Yi Han without mercy. Sister Yun, let's go. Yi Han and Ling Ruori were not fools. They knew that Longao was obviously playing with them. Just as the 2 of them were about to attack, Longao's fighting spirit suddenly surged and soared. In an instant, it soared to the extreme. Feeling the invincible fighting spirit, Yi Han and Ling Ruori retreated continuously. They could not understand. Longao was only a half-step lower god. Even if he had the 9 god-slaying swords and the Shenyuan sword, he would not be able to release such a terrifying fighting spirit. What was going on? However, Longao knew what was going on. In the end, It was because his primordial spirit had fused with the word battle on the pattern. The word battle contained the fighting spirit of the Battle Emperor Shenyuan Bubai from countless battles in his life. However, he was still weak and could not release even 1% of his fighting spirit. Otherwise, he would be able to kill all lower gods with just his fighting spirit alone. From the two of them's point of view, the reason why Longao could release such a terrifying fighting spirit was because of the combination of the Shenyuan sword and the 9 godslaying swords. The more it was so, the more greedy the two of them became. They were getting closer and closer. However, Yunshi took a step forward and murderous aura rolled out from her body. She said coldly, "Today, we will have a life-and-death battle with you. Let's see who will live and who will die." It would be a lie to say that they were not fearful. One was Yunshi and the other was Longao, who could kill a lower god. As for Emperor Yun and Yun Lu, they were ignored by the two of them. Even so, Ling Ruori and Yi Han were still fearful. Fight? Or choose to give up? The two of them knew that this was a gamble. If they won the gamble, they would be able to get the Shenyuan sword and the 9 godslaying swords that they had been dreaming of. If they lost the gamble, even if they could kill Yunshi and Longao, the two of them would have to die here. How could Longao not know what the two of them were thinking? However, he was fearless. At such a time, he could not take a step back. Otherwise, if he took a step back, the other party would take a step forward. Both parties were fearful of each other and were in a stalemate. No one was willing to make the first move. Hey! At this moment, Longao realized that there seemed to be a miraculous change in his Chaos Palace. P.S. Little Jew wishes everyone a happy Labor Day. Hurry up and vote. Little Jew is very grateful. Wakaka. Chapter 2863. Longao, what's the matter with you? Yunshi asked worriedly when she saw Longao's strange expression. He shook his head. Longao did not know what was going on. Why was his Chaos Palace acting strangely out of the blue? He had to end the battle quickly. He could not delay any longer. Kill them. Huh. Yi Han and Ling Ruori were not the only ones surprised. Even Yunshi and the rest were in disbelief. Although Longao had killed 6 people, Yi Han and Ling Ruori were not easy to deal with. Both of them were peak earthly venerables. How could they be killed so easily? Longao couldn't care less. Right now, the primal chaos hall in his body was starting to stir. Who knew what would happen? Since Longao had attacked, Yunshi and Emperor Yun did not hesitate to attack. Could it be that Longao had something to rely on? Yi Han and Ling Ruori did not expect Longao to take the initiative to attack. However, at that moment, Longao's figure suddenly disappeared. He disappeared into thin air. Huh! Seeing Longao suddenly disappear, everyone was completely shocked. They did not know what had happened. Even Yunshi and the rest did not think that Longao had hidden in the spatial chaos divine weapon. After spending some time with Longao, they knew better than anyone else what kind of person Longao was. How could he give them up so easily? What was going on? Yunshi was very worried. She had felt that something was wrong. However, Longao did not say anything and she did not ask further. Yi Han and Ling Ruori were extremely angry. They were filled with murderous intent. Not only did Longao obtain the Shenyuan sword, he also obtained the 9 god-slaying swords. He even used the items left behind by Shenyuan Bubai to kill 2 of their lower gods. They would not give up until they killed Longao. However, the 2 of them did not continue to attack. Since Longao had disappeared, there was no need for them to continue fighting with Yunshi. Yunshi did not attack either. She was very worried about Longao's safety. In the Chaos Palace. What the hell is going on? Even Longao did not know what was going on when he saw the strange movements in the Chaos Palace. Why would something like this happen out of nowhere? Flames. At the center of the primal Chaos Palace, a ball of flame appeared out of nowhere. It looked chaotic and gave off a very strange feeling. You want to enter my Dantian? Seeing the flame in front of him nod, Longao was startled. F***ck me. What was going on? Why would a flame suddenly appear in the primal chaos palace and enter his dantian? You won't hurt me. Seeing the flame shake his head, Longao gritted his teeth and said, if that's the case, I can promise you. Since the flame came from the primal chaos palace, it shouldn't harm him. In the next second, the flame had already left the primal chaos palace and entered Longao's dantian. It was a flame the size of a human finger. It seems like something summoned you. Longao could roughly guess. If he was not wrong, there must be something in the land of legacy. Otherwise, there would not be a ball of flame appearing in the Chaos Palace. After so many years in the Chaos Palace, this was the first time something like this had happened. What could it be? Longao was almost certain that something in the land of legacy was not simple to be able to summon the flame of the Chaos Palace. I have to get it. Longao clenched his fists tightly. Ever since he entered the land of legacy, he tried his best not to enter the Chaos Palace. After all, if he was targeted by Yi Han and Ling Ruori, even if he was fine now, there would be endless trouble when he entered the Chaos world in the future. Sister Yoon, you can leave first. I'll look for you later. Hearing the voice that suddenly came from her mind, Yoon-shi was immediately delighted. She coldly looked at the two people in front of her and said, I, Yoon-shi, will definitely find you to take revenge for Longao in the future. Let's go. Looking at the disappearing figures, Yi Han and Ling Ruori's faces were gloomy. Until now, they did not know whether Longao was alive or dead. What should we do? At this moment, no matter if it was the Yi family or the Ling family, only the two of them were left. The rest of the people were all dead. Ling Ruori said helplessly, the legacy is more important. We don't know what Longao is up to. Even if we follow him, it will be of no help. We might even waste time. Next, we must not let Longao get any more treasures. Just thinking about it made them furious. No matter if it was the Shenyuan sword or the 9 godly swords, they were extremely powerful items. If they were placed in the chaos world, not to mention them, even a divine king or divine emperor would want to snatch them. However, they were obtained by a half-step lower god. When they thought about how Longao could kill 2 lower gods with the help of the Shenyuan sword and the 9 godly swords, they would be lying if they said they did not want them. Yoon-shi and the other two did not go far. After confirming that Yi Han and Ling Ruori had left, they found a quiet place to wait for Longao. 10 minutes later, looking at Longao who suddenly appeared, the three of them were overjoyed. Longao said helplessly, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened just now. I was sucked into my space divine device. So that was it. Yoon-shi smiled and said, it's okay. Sister Yoon, I want to ask you something. Go ahead. Yoon-shi saw that Longao's expression was not right. She did not know what had happened. After interacting with Longao for this period of time, it was not only because of Chen-er that she treated Longao this way. As for what else there was, even Yoon-shi could not explain it clearly. Sister Yoon, do you know about the strange flame? Strange flame? Hearing the word strange flame, not only Yoon-shi, but even Emperor Yoon and Yoon-lu's expressions changed. Looking at their expressions, Longao already knew that Yoon-shi and the other two knew about the strange flame. Just now, when the flame of the Chaos Palace entered his dantian, 6 words appeared in his mind for no reason. Strange flame, chaos flame. However, he did not know what the so-called strange flame was, so he wanted to ask Yoon-shi. His intuition told him that the strange flame was definitely not simple. Because even he did not dare to touch the strange flame casually. As for the chaos flame, Longao did not mention it. Who knew what the strange flame represented? It was better to hear about the strange flame first. Moreover, Longao was almost certain that the strange flame also existed in the land of inheritance. Otherwise, how could the strange flame in the Chaos Palace be summoned? This was also the real reason why Longao could not wait to find out what the strange flame was. In the end, Longao had his eyes on the strange flame in the land of inheritance. P.S. Thank you for your tickets and tips. Little 9 is very grateful. Tomorrow, I will release 10 chapters. Tonight, I will stay up late and release 5 chapters. The remaining 5 chapters will be released tomorrow. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.